Chapter 1074, The Dream They Once Had. Chapter 1074, The Dream They Once Had. More than 30 years ago, Ziyao left the broken star field to enter the territory of the Divine Light. She had accepted the Master of the Divine Light, her teacher. Since then, she had ascetically cultivated the light power Upanishad. Divine Light wasn't within the area of the Shadow Ghostly Prison, but it wasn't far from this area either. It was especially close to the space hub where space passages were congregated. This area was mystical, with rumors that the Divine Light would cross this place from time to time. The Divine Light's master didn't want Ziyao to cultivate all the time. She asked Ziyao to come to the space hub to see if she could get lucky and catch a glimpse of outer space Divine Light. If she could take it in, her realm would leap up. Some precursors of the Divine Light had escorted Ziyao to the area with the space slits. She had wandered there for a long time, but couldn't catch the outer space Divine Light. However, she found a narrow space slit that was connected to the raging flame star area. With the help of the Divine Light's experts, they moved through the space passage and arrived in the dead star area of the raging flame star area. In that area, Ziyao found a lot of traces of the outer space pirates, as well as Ka Fu's whereabouts. She knew Shi Yin had a relationship with Ka Fu, Bao Ao, and the others. She was one of the vanguards entering the agate star area with Shi Yin. She knew Ka Tuo and Shi Yin were always together. Thus, she came to talk to Ka Fu, telling him that his brother was in the agate star area, and she wanted to take him there. Ka Fu, of course, couldn't be happier. After he had arranged everything, he took Bao Ao, Jieji, Bo Ro, and some strong pirates to follow Ziyao to agate star area. Listening to Ziyao, Shi Yin felt his eyes itch and his heart feel warm. He suddenly recognized that while he didn't know anything, this woman had done many meaningful things for him. He remembered things he had undergone those years and became baffled. Shi Yin, you didn't fail us, Bao Ao appraised with emotion. Jieji and Bo Ro were excited as well. Jieji stepped forward to pat Shi Yin's shoulder. Excellent. Shi Yin was bewildered, asking, What's excellent? You've taken the fellows of our demon clan from the Grace mainland. You gave them a way of hope. It's what we had departed for that year. We wanted to find a way out for our fellows. You've done it for us. You didn't fail us. Bao Ao's eyes had flames, his voice strong and echoing. Bao Ao and Jieji were the leaders of Demon Clan. They had soon recognized the exhaustion of energy in the Grace mainland and had struggled to find a way to survive for their fellows. They had even left the Grace mainland for this reason. After that, they arrived in the Raging Flame Star area, where they had their knowledge widened when they saw the wealth of the medium-level star area. At that time, they recognized how weak they were at the peak of true God realm. They used to be the potion and mining slaves. They struggled to live for a long time. Eventually, they found the dream they once had seeming to drift further and further away from them. They had given up one or two times. However, shame stayed forever in their hearts as they couldn't bring hope for their fellows. But it was until they met Shi Yin again. Shi Yin had used the star map to exchange for their rescue while they were trapped inside the demonic flower. After that, they were safe and recovered in a hidden area somewhere in the land of God punishment. Slowly, hope dawned back on them. Dozens of years later, when Ziyao brought some ethereal God realm experts of the Divine Light and found them here, they were shocked. Now they knew that the Raging Flame Star wasn't a high-level star area. Only the star areas with incipient God realm experts could be deemed the high-level star areas. After that, Ziyao told them one thing. They knew Shi Yin had completed the dream they could never fulfill. Shi Yin had brought the hope of a new life to their fellows in the Grace mainland. They were so grateful to him. When we had just visited the Grace mainland, we made the vow that we must find a life star to prepare a new home for our fellows. Jieji looked at Shi Yin, his face holding a sincere and touched smile. Too bad our capacity was limited, so we couldn't do that. But you helped us. Even if we have to die now, we will die with a smile. The demon fellows in the Grace mainland were their families, relatives, friends, and subordinates. They were worth their care, and they would do everything to continue their bloodline. They live well and safely now. Don't worry. Gazing at them, Shi Yin smiled happily. After I am done with my business here, I will create a formation that can help transport you guys there to live with them. You will meet someone very close to you on that planet. Bao Ao, Jejia, and Bo Ro were thrilled. In another area of the immense ocean, Sana and Ju Bo wore a solemn face, standing on the purple crystal battleship. Sure Yin has fulfilled his promise of solving our problems. What should we do now? Ju Bo frowned while looking at Sana. You're in charge of this operation. I'm just a protector. You tell me. Sana contemplated for a while and then said, as we've promised, Divine Light will leave the shadow ghostly prison. Are you willing to leave? Ju Bo was surprised as he knew Sana wasn't the sort of man who would yield before he could get what he wanted. However, this time, he just simply gave it up like that. Ju Bo was quite astounded. I'm a man of my word. Sana frowned. That man and my sister have a close relationship. If we don't do what we have promised, it will be difficult for her as well. Little Yao and that guy don't have a simple friendship, you know, said Ju Bo meaningfully. Sana trembled shortly, his face gloomy. I know, but there's something we can't force to get. Well, that kid is only at the first sky of ethereal god realm at this moment. With your power and tricks, you have many ways to kill him. I believe you can do it discreetly, said Ju Bo with a smile. Sana's face was colder, looking at him indifferently. Old Ju, did you take your meds today? If I wanted to compete for my sister with him, would I need to use such a low trick? Ju Bo laughed cheerily and nodded. Sana, you're truly Sana. You won't let me down, right? I was worried that you would let jealousy consume you. I'm not worried anymore. All right, we'll do as we have promised. We will give them the territories we've claimed. Sana was bewildered, but then he gathered himself together and burst out laughing. I will respect my sister's opinions, no matter what she chooses. I, Sana, am always sane. Ju Bo nodded smilingly. As Divine Light has you in its structure, even without the benefits from the shadow ghostly prison, we will grow steadily. Fighting Star? Feng Han was standing on a high mountain with a sound stone in his hand, his face astounded. Divine Light gave it up? What happened? He turned to Chi Zhe while frowning. Is it a conspiracy? Ghost knows, Chi Zhe seemed not mind it much. Miao Rong sent me the message, saying that they have gathered with Xin Yan's Windstorm War Department. So, we don't need to hand the Divine Light the letter you wrote. Moreover, we also received the information that the Divine Light's forces have left the life stars and mineral stars they had claimed before. I'm sure something had happened, Feng Han said with a cold face. Contact Miao Rong and Xin Yan. I want to know what happened. I'm on it. In the dark star sea of shadow ghostly prison, many battleships were hovering by a group of slender battleships above a crescent moon-shaped life star. This star was covered with a blue ocean, where they could see many small, dazzling islands that decorated this planet, making it a dreamy scene. So beautiful, Xin Yin observed from her battleship, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Standing by her was Miao Rong from the Water Moon War Department of Fighting League. This life star produces a lot of spiritual herbs and grasses. The Dark Shadow Clan had controlled this place strictly. Among the important areas we want to claim, this place ranks right behind the planet with the Divine Crystal Lode. Xin Yin smiled gently. The Divine Light's warriors are in there. If they don't retreat, we can't take this place. Miao Rong knitted his brows, talking. I still don't know why the Divine Light suddenly gave it up. The Fighting Star has asked me several times. I don't know what to answer them. The Divine Light had come fiercely, and they retreated even faster. I wonder if they have some internal problems. Xin Yin put on a cold and indifferent face. She pondered for a while and then said, We don't know why they retreated, but we can go there and ask. Miao Rong discolored in fright. You want to go there? The soldiers of the Water Moon Department and Xin Yan's department numbered just over 1,000. Compared to 3,000 warriors of the Divine Light, they were quite few. The Divine Light had sent here all of the elite warriors, which weren't weaker than them. If they had to engage in a fight, Xin Yan's side would fall into a disadvantageous situation. Today, warriors of the Divine Light who entered the shadow ghostly prison were all gathering in here. If they got down there and provoked the Divine Light's warriors, it would not be a good move. Miao Rong couldn't understand a thing. We just use a war chariot to get there, Xia Xian Yin called, and a crystal jade phoenix war chariot emerged. She hopped on and waved at Miao Rong. You and I will go there to show our goodwill. Miao Rong was a little hesitant. You are at the incipient god realm. What is there to be worried then? Xia Xian Yin said gently. I'm worried about you. Miao Rong forced a smile. I can escape simply. But you can't do that. Your realm isn't high enough. If they can find you for the second time, we will fall into a tough position again. Don't you think so? No, it won't turn like that this time. Xia Xian Yin smiled, her beautiful eyes piercing through the layers of clouds. She mumbled, I'm sure he has established an agreement with the Divine Light. Otherwise, the Divine Light won't act that way. Forget it. I will go with you to see what troubles we will meet. Miao Rong was reluctant, but he jumped onto the war chariot like a furious water current. The lithe phoenix war chariot glided, dancing in the sky while piercing through layers of clouds. Slowly, it lowered towards the blue ocean. They saw many Divine Light's battleships anchored by the islands in the sea. Warriors of the Divine Light were looking at the sky, their faces gingerly. I want to see your leader. Xia Xian Yin called out gently while she was still in the sky. The sound waves of her voice echoed, expanding further. Xia Mei Mei, over here. An enchanting voice that could even reach people's bones came from the gourd-shaped island in the middle of the ocean. The female voice sounded lazy and soft, as if she was sunbathing. Xia Xian Yin arched her brows, but she didn't recognize it. Her beautiful eyes held an unclear meaning. Her phoenix war chariot suddenly hissed ear-piercingly as it sped up, which made Miao Rong lose his balance and almost fall off. He immediately looked at her with an odd face, not knowing what had happened. Chapter 1075. A Competition of Envy. Chapter 1075. A Competition of Envy _ Miao Rong was quite suspicious. This time, the Divine Light had made a large-scale invasion. While the Fighting League hadn't noticed, they had forcefully claimed many important areas which used to belong to the Dark Shadow clan. It was like a sharp thorn thrusting towards the Fighting League's throat, which gave Feng Han a big headache. When Feng Han was ready to deploy his force, he got the news from the Divine Light. They had kept Xia Xian Yin as a hostage. Thus, Feng Han had to stop his plan of a fight, and begrudgingly agreed with the strict conditions the Divine Light had given. He didn't deploy his forces, but wrote a letter of agreement, which he asked Miao Rong to hand to the other in exchange for Xia Xian Yin. Miao Rong thought that it was a humiliation, which he had prepared himself to bear. However, when he arrived there with his Water Moon War Department, Xia Xian Yin and her Windstorm War Department had escaped their confinements. Moreover, the arrogant experts of the Divine Light were leaving their important areas. They seemed to want to retreat from the shadow ghostly prison soon. Miao Rong was confused, as he didn't know what was wrong. He had asked Xia Xian Yin, but she didn't give him a convincing answer. The Fighting League was hurried, wanting to know all the details related to it. So, they continually asked Miao Rong. Miao Rong knew that Xia Xian Yin had the answer. However, he didn't have the right to ask her. So, he had to keep being skeptical. The Phoenix War Chariot trembled hard. Miao Rong looked at Xia Xian Yin, who acted normal, her eyes lost somewhere. He knew that he would get the answer in a few minutes. On the gourd-shaped island, the breeze was warm, flowing above the sparkling sea. Divine Light's battleships were anchored by the small island, leaving only one magnificent purple crystal battleship lying in the center of the island. Dozens of Divine Light's warriors were surrounding the purple crystal battleship, situated in the middle of many lush mountains. All of a sudden, Sana and Zhu Bo arrived there with Zi Yao, who was wearing a gorgeous purple dress. At this moment, the three leaders of Divine Light were giving orders to their subordinates. A hunky young man stood in a corner with the three demon clansmen, his face cold and calm. Warriors of Divine Light weren't wary of them. They were talking to each other, while the mesmerizing woman in purple would often throw her glance at the young man over there, her beautiful eyes twinkling. Swish! The war chariot slightly trembled. Miao Rong jolted up, frowning at the divine light's warriors in the distance. Sana and Ju Bo were famous warriors of the divine light, the commanders of this shadow ghostly prison operation. At first glance, Miao Rong could easily guess their identities. He looked at the gorgeous woman in purple, his eyes brightening as he nodded inwardly. That was the new disciple of the divine light's master. She was quite favored and had an extremely fast cultivation progress. He knew that she was called Ziyao. A series of information related to Ziyao slid through his brain, startling him. He suddenly became bewildered when he found out that Xia Xinyan had only looked at Ziyao and that cold young man since she had arrived on this planet. She didn't even give Sana and Ju Bo a glance. Since Miao Rong couldn't explain that, he paid more attention. Ju Bo didn't talk more. He rose one hand, making a gesture to stop the Divine Light's warriors from discussing. He looked at the Phoenix war chariot emerging and chuckled. He waved his hand while talking. I'm Ju Bo of the Divine Light. You're welcome here to see us off. See them off? Miao Ring was bewildered. Xia Xian furrowed her bold brows as her look shifted from Ju Bo to Ziyao. Finally, she gazed at Shi Yin. Shi Yin was still natural as he grinned while talking to her. Divine Light wants to retreat from Shadow Ghostly Prison. They will leave soon. Miao Rong and Xia Xian were astounded. They finally confirmed that the Divine Light would leave for sure, which made them even more bewildered. Ju Bo looked at Shi Yin, giving the compliment. What we agreed about with Shi Yin, we will never change. After we're done with the preparations for him, we will leave shortly. We won't linger in Shadow Ghostly Prison anymore. Sana snorted, his face indifferent. He seemed not willing at all. Ziyao wore a charming smile while talking to Xia Xian gently. It's perfect not to cause any dispute with Xia Meimei. Meimei, if you have time, come to be our guest in Divine Light's territory. Please don't keep in mind any previous provocation of ours. Xia Xian just frowned, but didn't answer. Miao Rong was dumbstruck like a wooden chicken. He looked at the lean young man and finally knew that he was Shi Yin, the one they had talked about. However, this man was only at the ethereal god realm. What kind of a trick had he conjured to make the Divine Light leave Shadow Ghostly Prison? And why did he have to help the Fighting League? Doubts grew in Miao Rong's mind. I want to create a teleportation formation. They will help me gather some necessary materials. That's why I'm waiting here. Shi Yin thought for a while and realized that he should clarify everything with Xia Xian. With his realm and cultivation base, it wasn't really hard to create the child formation of the mother and child sky linking formation. He believed that he could do that. However, he didn't have the materials to build a space teleportation formation. When he discussed with Bao Ao, Jeji, and Bo Ro, he told them about it. He didn't expect that Ziyao would help him collect all of the required materials. However, he was even more surprised when Ju Bo and Sana didn't oppose this. They expressed that they wanted to thank him because he had rescued the warriors of the Divine Light. He couldn't deny this, and he didn't try to deny anyway. He just let Divine Light and Ziyao take care of the preparations. It would take a lot of materials to build the space teleportation formation. The battleships of the Divine Light in this area didn't have enough materials. Thus, Ziyao and Ju Bo had ordered their subordinate to gather them. They knew that they could collect all of them in a short while. The Divine Light and the Potion and Tool Pavilion had a close relationship. The materials AI Fu had piled up in Broken Star Field were from the Divine Light. And they even had a way to buy and sell the mother and child sky linking formation to AI Fu. Shi Yin didn't doubt the Divine Light's capacity. Also, he believed in Ziyao. Thus, he had been waiting on this gourd-shaped island. Gathering forging materials? Xia Xian was surprised for a while. She reacted immediately, laughing. Turns out you're busy with this. When we came back from the space passage, you had told me that, so I had arranged it for you. Shi Yin was surprised. Miao Rong slightly frowned while talking. You sent your request to the League, asking us to contact the Potion and Tool Pavilion to collect the materials for him? Xia Xian smiled naturally, then nodded and talked to Shi Yin. You don't need to stay here anymore. We should go to the Fighting Star. I believe that the materials required are already there. You can do it right away without waiting here. Shi Yin scratched his head as he felt awkward. It takes 5 days max, and the materials we have ordered will be delivered. Ziyao smiled charmingly. Can you wait for 5 days more? It will take half a month to travel to the Fighting League. You don't need to waste a lot of time, right? Just wait here for 5 days more. What do you say? You want to go to the Fighting League, anyway. When you get there, the materials will be awaiting you already. You can do what you want. Why would you waste more time here? Xia Xian Yin pitched her voice. The two peerlessly beautiful women were trying to show their colors. With soft voices and yearning eyes, they were asking him to agree with their suggestions. The Divine Light's warriors were baffled, and Miao Rong was also dumbstruck. No matter it was Xia Xian Yin or Ziyao, they were both extreme beauties who were really rare in this world. Both their makings and glamour were perfect. They also held a high position in the Fighting League and Divine Light respectively. Ordinary people would never have a chance to get in touch with them, but today, they were competing for a man. As they were trying to gain his attention, it baffled all the warriors on the scene. Many warriors the Divine Light had yearning, jealous, admiring, and even angry facial expressions. Some of them even roared in their minds, as they had considered Ziyao as their perfect goddess, the dream of their lives. Today, their goddess and another extremely exquisite woman were waiting for a man's decision. This made them almost lose their sanity. Sana felt like a big failure. He didn't have any confidence or arrogance in his eyes anymore. He looked at Ziyao, who was gingerly, and then Xia Xian Yin, who was yearning, then sighed inwardly. Miao Rong frowned deeply. The light in his eyes was like a burning torch as he gazed at Shi Yin and felt aghast. He had never heard of the name Shi Yin. He knew nothing about this man who had emerged from nowhere. But he knew how much Feng Han had favored Xia Xian Yin. He also knew Xia Xian Yan's strange profile. At the same time, he knew of Ziyao's noble position in the Divine Light. What made this young man deserve the two women's favors? Miao Rong gradually became absorbed in his thoughts. I've been waiting for several days, and it will just take 5 days more. As people were gazing at him, Shi Yan's face was indifferent while he spoke. 5 days later, after we've collected the materials, I will leave with you to the Fighting Star. I think I can finish the teleport formation on the way. It will be the best solution for me. The Fighting Star was the headquarters of the Fighting League, which situated in the dangerous center of the Shadow Ghostly Prison. It was heavily guarded in a special location. Shi Yin had agreed to use Shan from the Fiery Rain Star area that he would assign Leona to train a troop of her force. Due to the unique location of the Fighting League in Shadow Ghostly Prison, it was his top choice. His answer gained the approval from both the two beauties. They smiled, and nothing in this sea area could compare to their glamour. All right, we will wait for 5 days more. Xia Xian Yin felt at ease. She nodded to Miao Rong, asking him to wait here as well. As long as Shi Yin agreed to go to the Fighting Star with her, she wouldn't nag him about any other matter. She felt happy with his decision. Ziyao knew that Xia Xian Yin still ranked first in Shi Yin's heart. She wasn't foolish to make things tenser. As Shi Yin had agreed to stay 5 days more in this place, she thought that it was a noticeable change already. She believed that she could imprint her image into his heart little by little over time. Eventually, she would be able to compete with Xia Xian Yin directly. This area doesn't look bad. Shi Yin, take me around for seeing the sights, will you? Xia Xian Yin suddenly asked with her sweet voice. I've taken him for a walk once. If you don't mind, we will go together. What do you say? Shi Yin hadn't agreed when Ziyao took the chance to intervene. She stretched her body like a lazy cat, her face natural and calm. I'm excited to talk more with Xia Mei Mei. Cough, cough. You two go for a walk. I want to prepare and meditate for a while. Shi Yin gave out some dry coughs and expressed his opinion. The two pairs of pretty eyes shot at him with some meaning. I'm going to seclude and cultivate, Shi Yin said placidly, then flew out all of a sudden and disappeared into a cave on the mountain of the island. Chapter 1076, 3 Flames Unite. Chapter 1076, 3 Flames Unite under The Fountainhead of Power Upanishads. Inside a spacious area of firepower Upanishads which looked like a vast sea, flames were dancing and running as if they had life. Sometimes, they draw beautiful curves in the air with brilliant light. Each magical flame was releasing its best mysterious power. Warriors who concentrated their minds to study with the soul could understand all the changes of those flames and comprehend the power of fire, then absorb it into their souls to strengthen their firepower Upanishads. Two souls were floating in the middle of the sea of fire. One of them looked like a dazzling fireball, with a fierce soul energy magnetic field. Its magnetic field seemed to synchronize with countless flames in this area of fires of Upanishads. It acted as if it had understood the mysteries of those flames. At the same time, the flames around it started to twist and change, turning into the brilliant and yet exquisite lines of some drawings. They seemed to be the particular shapes of the fire fairies. The three soul energy fluctuations of the flames with similar auras were generated from the fireball, slowly condensing into one beam, thinning and stretching. Two graceful figures appeared, hovering in front of the firepower Upanishads area. Yushan looked beautiful with her generous curves, her face mature and charming. She looked struck when she saw the soul fireball. He's uniting three heaven flames of the origin that have similar auras. It's a real fusion. He's making their auras and energy unite into one. Xian Fei's small face was surprised, screaming, "How's his progress?" "Almost finished," Yushan appraised emotionally. "This man's innate endowment's not ordinary at all. His situation's special and strange. With this progress, he is likely to finish fusing the three flames with the similar auras. At that time, his understanding of the firepower Upanishad would surpass yours." Xian Fei felt dispirited, snorting with disgust. "You better observe. It will be good for you," Yushan told her, and then kept silent. Time flew hurriedly. After an unknown period of time, the three different auras of that flaming soul had been fused into one, without a leak. Another soul of his suddenly transformed into Shi Yan's real image. He chuckled, looking at the co-soul with his eyes sparkling strangely. The co-soul in the form of a brilliant fireball suddenly shrank until it was a thumb-sized flaming bead, hovering in the air. "You're all here." While smiling, he looked at Yushan. "When will you enter the agate star area?" "I'm here to tell you that they are waiting at the entrance of the space passage. My body's there as well. If you're ready, I'll ask them to get in." Yushan explained the situation to him. "Of course, it's no problem. You just need to guide them to the agate star area. I'll let someone receive you and bring you to the fighting star in Shadow Ghostly Prison," said Shi Yan. "You've just fused with three heaven flames of the origin, right?" Pausing for a while, Yushan asked. "Yes, I've done it smoothly. The Earth Flame, Purgatory True Flame, and Vermilion Bird True Flame had similar auras, and were all Peak-Yang scorching flames. The fusion of the three flames was smooth, and at this moment, the three heaven flames were now one, and the blazing power of this combination had been increased by several times." Shi Yan tried, and he found that the fused flame was burning hot beyond his expectations. "You have 10 heaven flames from the same origin of an ancient continent, and the three heaven flames you just fused are the three easiest flames to combine. However, the next time you want to fuse them, it would be more strenuous." Yushan contemplated and then reminded him. "The next time you combine heaven flames, you shouldn't do it rashly. You must do one at a time, or else you will meet a big trouble. Sai, I admire you. You could gather all the heaven flames of the same origin. I think your attainment in cultivating firepower Upanishad would surpass us one day." Yushan's eyes looked complicated and emotional when she said that. As she was the Grand Master who cultivated firepower Upanishad with the heaven flames at the second sky of incipient God realm, Shi Yan appreciated her advice a lot, memorizing all that she told him. "Our soldiers will enter the agate star area soon. You should hurry to send your guide to receive them." Yushan frowned as she hesitated. "There's something I wonder if it's related to your agate star area." "What's that?" Shi Yan was startled. "The one who had plotted against your agate star area is the Ascot family of the God Clan, right?" asked Yushan. Shi Yan nodded. "So, it's possibly related to you guys, Yushan pondered for a while and then said, I heard that Sloan of the Ascot family is collecting materials to fabricate the border-breaking mine. I think it's related to your agate star area and even yourself. I quite don't understand. Sloan and Chief Bello of the Dark Shadow clan call each other brothers. Spot, the god young man that you killed, was the beloved youngest son of Sloan and a core member of the god clan. When he died, they could find out the murderer using a special method. Sloan should know that you killed his son by now. The border-breaking mine is the most dangerous weapon of the god clan. It can blast an entire planet and also break the space barrier. Anyway, it's not easy to fabricate the border-breaking mine. It needs a soul altar of an incipient god realm expert to be the core. Once the border-breaking mine detonates, the soul altar of that expert will explode altogether. I heard that Sloan is asking for an imprisoned incipient god realm expert to be the core of his border-breaking mine. Once he's done with that mine, he can blow off the space barrier between your star area and the ancient god star area in just a blink of an eye. At that time, you guys will have to face the great army of the Ascot family of the god clan. Especially you. You're Sloan's main target. Yushan talked clearly and evidently. Shi Yan's face darkened. He knew Yushan didn't need to deceive him at this moment. He was sure she was telling the truth. When the space barrier was sealed, he thought they could be safe for a while. Unexpectedly, the God Clan didn't want to stop their attack there. Their next conspiracy was much bloodier. Of course, he needs the Ascot family's approval to get an incipient God Realm expert as the sacrifice. It takes time to fabricate the border-breaking mine. Thus, I think you're safe for a while. Seeing his face darken, Yushan couldn't help but console him. You still have time to prepare. I suggest you guys should unite all the big clans in your star area. You can't resist with a scattered force. The first time the Fiery Rain star area had to deal with the God Clan's invasion, the clans from everywhere were fighting against each other. Some even depended on the God Clan. It was only when they suffered a significant loss that they finally recognized the reality. Eventually, all clans had to unite to resist the God Clan. I want you to recognize your situation in the early stage, Yushan kindly advised him. Shi Yin nodded silently. Yushan didn't talk more and told Xian Fei to leave this area. Their souls then disappeared shortly. Shi Yin stayed in the area of Fire Power Upanishads alone. He contemplated for a while and then left. At the entrance of the cave sealed with a big rock, the two splendid women were floating quietly. Their beautiful eyes sparkled as they studied the entrance. Not far from them, Miao Rong, Sana, Jubo, and more than 10 divine light experts were waiting on the war chariots. Those war chariots were filled with exotic cultivating materials. Most of them were crystal-like materials, while a small part was wooden cubes that looked like sparkling jades. Today wasn't the 5th day. It was the 9th day. The materials the divine light had ordered were delivered on time. They wanted to wake Shi Yin up in this cave. However, when they arrived, they couldn't sense his soul energy fluctuation. At that time, everybody was frightened. Miao Rong, Sana, and Ju Bo were restlessly anxious. They thought that Shi Yan's soul was exterminated. Even Ziyao didn't know what had happened to him. She had almost dashed into the cave to check his situation. She had never experienced the state when he had entered the fountainhead of power Upanishads. Only Xia Xi and Yin knew about the actual situation. She had stopped them from getting into the cave, so they all waited here in silence. They were quite skeptical. While waiting, they were filled with confusion. At the moment Shi Yan's soul, which they thought was lost, returned to his body, everybody instinctively looked at the cave entrance. At this moment, Miao Rong, Sana, and Ju Bo knew that Shi Yin was more mysterious than what they had thought. They now knew that Shi Yin wasn't an ordinary warrior. It seemed the agate star area had never had a warrior with the heaven flames who could enter the fountainhead of power Upanishads. Thus, they didn't know that people's soul could enter the mysterious area, which gave the others a feeling that their souls had been exterminated. Squeak! Squeak! The big rock was removed, and Shi Yin appeared in the entrance of the cave with a cold face. Looking at the group of people waiting for him, he frowned unrecognizably, beaming a smile. Oh, I got a big welcome formation. The others felt embarrassed and didn't talk much. We were so worried about you. Zia rolled her eyes at him. She exaggeratingly patted her round breasts while screaming, "You had scared me. I couldn't sense your soul aura. I thought something had happened to you. If Xia Mei Mei didn't tell us, I would have jumped into the cave to find you. Sigh. Next time, can you notify us before you do that? Do you think it's funny to make people worried like that?" She didn't conceal her deep affection for Shi Yin at all. The divine light warriors sighed and shifted anxiously. They cursed Shi Yin for his romantic luck. Xian Yin, you should send some Fighting League experts to the space passage we've been before. We need to fetch up a troop of warriors. Shi Yin said with a stern face. They come from the fiery rainstar area. Yushan and Xian Fei may arrive as well. I agreed with them that I would let Leona help them train their soldiers. First, let's bring them to the fighting star. This place is much nearer than that planet anyway, Xiao intervened. Shi Yin was baffled for a while. He pondered for a while and then said, "All right, send someone and bring them here. Hey, did you prepare the materials I've asked?" "All are delivered." "Good. I'm going to build the formation here. I must finish it as soon as possible." Chapter 1077. Build the formation. Chapter 1077. Build the formation under a peak of a mountain on the gourd-shaped island. The top of this mountain was flat and smooth like a cut crystal. It looked like someone had used a huge blade to cut it flat. Piling on the cold ground were dozens of different materials, sparkling in different colors. Some of them were icy cold or as warm as jade, while the others were crystal clear and shining. A young man was frowning, his eyes focused as he stood silently atop the mountain. Fine space blades flashed on and off in the void, as if they were the knives of a wonderfully skilled craftsman. As Shi Yin was moving his fingers, the space blades exquisitely and carefully carved the intricate drawings on the surface of the rigid, empty fantasy crystal. This piece of empty fantasy crystal was around 1 mu wide. It was crystal clear and fulgent like the best quality jade. However, this piece of jade was covered with hairline cracks, which were curving and expanding to every corner of the crystal. It looked like there were so many invisible hands magically moving those cracks around. The sharp space blades glided, drawing on the surface of the crystal, creating more hairline cracks while generating the sounds of skreek. Boom! A cluster of scorching red flame emerged in his palm. It floated and bobbed continually like a magical soul, and slowly, it turned into a beautiful curve. The flame covered the cold, lozenge jades piling around. Half of the jades then melted, and black dregs dripped down. The cold jades were polished afterward. They swooshed in the air, landing on the slits on the empty fantasy crystal. The young man had his 10 fingers moved continually, drawing beautiful and yet complicated, wonderful formations in the void. Whenever a new formation appeared, the sharp space blades would move around, carving it on the surface of the empty fantasy crystal. Right after that, the burning flame would refine the cold jades, spiritual rocks, and precious metals. It would grind the materials or melt them down into the flaming fluid, which would be poured onto the formations on the empty fantasy crystal. The surface of the 1 mu wide jade had countless fine cuts which were arranged into beautiful patterns and drawings of dozens of inexplicable formations and star points. The star points were the space nodes that weaved with each other to connect the formations, giving rise to the magical effects of the grand formation. The dancing flame was like the tentacles of God, pulling more materials to extract the dregs and impurities out of before putting them into the empty fantasy crystal. As the materials disappeared, the formations on the massive empty fantasy crystal glowed one after another. They seemed to be small-scale star maps with the power of space essence. However, ordinary people couldn't grasp it. War chariots anchored around this mountain where Xia Xian Yin, Ziyao, Xiaorong, Sana, and Zhu Bo were standing, watching him in silence. The space blades appeared thicker, and the empty fantasy crystal became even more dazzling. They suddenly saw the space above the mountain shattering. Many energy currents gushed over as if the sky had been ripped apart while the marvelous space energy rippled magically. The narrow space cracks appeared, making space energy more turbulent. The sky above the gourd-shaped island looked like a shattered mirror with more space slits. People couldn't move their eyes after taking the first look, and their soul altars surged anxiously. Under the splintery sky, a young man was focused on using his soul, mind, and soul consciousness to carve the formation with space blades on the surface of the empty fantasy formation. He controlled the heaven flames to refine the materials, then used his god power to pour them into the spiritual formation. Everybody was dumbstruck on watching his performance. Even Xia Xian Yin and Ziyao, the two who understood him the best, were speechless. They just looked at him with astonishment in their eyes. He's also good at forging tools. If he spends more efforts to study and master his skills, he can be an elder of the potion and tool pavilion, cried Jubo after looking at Shi Yin for a while. Sana nodded and couldn't hide his admiration. He's worth being the one my sister has chosen. He has his specialties, indeed. I know my sister always had keen eyes. He does no blacksmithing? Miao Rong was standing on another phoenix war chariot, his face surprised. What's his profile? He didn't know Shi Yan's identity right from the beginning until now. Xia Xian Yin pulled herself together, turning her head to look at him, then gave him a slight smile. How can I say that? He's the one who resolved the danger of the Monster Clan, Demon Clan, Potion, and Tool Pavilion in the Windstorm War Department. Without him, the Dark Shadow Clan and the God Clan would have invaded us. Miao Rong was shaken. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. Of course, he knew what happened inside that space passage. He knew Great Elders Walu of the Potion and Tool Pavilion had cooperated with the Dark Shadow Clan to bring the God Clan to this star area. Being the commander of the Water Moon War Department of the Fighting League, Miao Rong had met a lot of warriors from other star areas coming through the space passages to get here. From them, he knew of the so-called God Clan. He was really afraid of that race. But the Dark Shadow Clan had retreated all of a sudden, and the space passage was now blocked. He also knew something through the channels of the Potion and Tool Pavilion. However, he had thought that it was because of the cooperation of the Monster Clan, Demon Clan, Potion, and Tool Pavilion in the Windstorm War Department. He never thought that they had a young man who had held such a crucial role. At this moment, Xia Xian Yin told him what had actually happened, which made him baffled. It was the first time he considered Shi Yan's abilities. What about the warriors we had sent to fetch the others? Xia Xian Yin continued to ask. I think they've almost arrived, Miao Rong answered. Are the warriors from the Fiery Rain Star area the core that need to be trained? Why do they have such request? That's because you have never seen how powerful Leona is, Xia Xian Yin smiled. Let alone the Fiery Rain Star area, Monster Clan, and Demon Clan all want her to train their legions. If it's possible, I also want to let her whip my Windstorm War Department. She's even better than you? Miao Rong arched his brows, feeling astounded. Me? Xia Xian Yin mocked herself, telling the truth. If we had two core with the same competence to lead, I think I won't have even a slight bit of power to deal with her core. Within 1 hour, she could destroy us all. Miao Rong discolored in fear. Leona is from Shi Yan's team. She only listens to Shi Yan. Xia Xian Yin smiled happily. What's the relationship between you and him? Miao Rong asked about his biggest suspicion. Xia Xian Yin blushed, biting her full lower lip. Miao Rong kept silent, as he had gotten his answer. Shi Yin concentrated wholeheartedly on the flat peak of the mountain, as his soul altar spun silently. The space abilities were applied to draw the formation in the void, then carve the lines on the surface of the empty fantasy crystal. Shi Yan's co-soul could urge the heaven flames and arrange the materials precisely and timely on their spots on the empty fantasy crystal. As the spiritual formations appeared, they glowed. Shi Yin knew the child formation of the mother and child sky linking formation would be completed soon. As he had cultivated space power Upanishad, he had studied the mother and child sky linking sky formation for a long time. He understood about its mysteries. As his realm improved, he gained a new cognition of this formation and could grasp its essence now. Today, with abundant materials, he had tried and built the child formation. Although it was a little difficult, he slowly knew that he wasn't so far from the day of completion. While refining the formation, his soul was calm and peaceful. When he urged his space power Upanishad, the abilities he had mastered were released, which benefited his improvement of his realm the most. His soul shivered, and a sharp space blade stopped suddenly. A flame moved out of a crack on the empty fantasy crystal, and at the cross-section of the two slits, the last space node emerged. Boom! The intense and blinding light bloomed. The empty fantasy crystal resounded cracking noises crunchily as though it was a blooming flower. Afterward, an octagonal platform emerged in the center of the crystal. It had countless dense and complex lines of different patterns and drawings. The strong and dizzy light flashed. After a short while, it disappeared into the spots by the edge of the formation. Shi Yin exhaled, while divine crystals shot out of his ring, falling on the designated concave spots. After several thousand divine crystals were put into their spots, the child formation suddenly had strange space ripples expanding. The onlookers suddenly felt the space around them ripple and couldn't help but gawk at Shi Yan's. It works, Shi Yin said weakly. He sent his soul consciousness into the space nodes, searching for the aura of the mother formation. After he got it, he urged the divine crystals. A halo covered the center of the child formation. As energy that fluctuated in the formation was clear, everybody could feel the marvelous experience of being able to connect different places. Such thick energy waves expanding. A clear but tender voice arose from the clouds above the gourd-shaped island. Although that voice was still echoing, the massive battleships emerged one after another. Those battleships were made of some kind of bright metals. They could reflect light well, which made them so blinding. Each one of those battleships was more than several thousand meters long. They looked like beasts from the primordial time falling from the nine-tiered sky. The others could sense a strong and brutal energy fluctuating from those battleships. People on the gourd-shaped island faced the sky, looking at several hundred battleships, which carried more than 10,000 strange warriors from the other star area. They were so scared that even their souls swayed. The warriors on those battleships evidently belonged to different forces. All of them were at the King God Realm, Original God Realm, and Ethereal God Realm. They even had 2 incipient God Realm experts. This intimidating force was enough to swagger across the shadow ghostly prison, and even the Fighting League couldn't bear facing them directly. Among this more than 10,000 warrior force, there were 3,000 warriors at the Original God Realm and 200 Ethereal God Realm experts. No force in the entire Agate Star area could have this number of domineering experts. Although Divine Light was a famous force in the Agate Star area and it had dozens of thousands of warriors, it had only a little more than 10,000 King God Realm warriors, around 1,000 Original God Realm, and less than 30 Ethereal God Realm experts. The Fighting League was even worse. They had around 15 Ethereal God Realm warriors among dozens of thousands of warriors. It was the same for the Fire Clan, Crystal Clan, Demon Clan, and Monster Clan. Their numbers of Ethereal God Realm warriors couldn't compare to this force which had just fallen from the sky. Everybody was panic-stricken while watching the sky. Shi Yin was also shocked. He pitched his voice. Do you actually need to arrange such a big formation? This force of yours is enough to destroy any force in the Agate Star area. It was Yushan who had brought the warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area to this life star for Leona to train. However, the power of this force was much beyond what Shi Yin had estimated. Even in his dream, he couldn't imagine that Yushan could gather so many intimidating existences like this. He had a sudden headache. How could he arrange for this massive force? 1 mu equals 666. 6 meters squared. Chapter 1078, Pressure Resistant. Chapter 1078, Pressure Resistant Understrunder. More than 10,000 warriors and hundreds of battleships had created a heavy pressure like that of a mountain. This force of the Fiery Rain Star area was over Shi Yan's estimation. Sana and Jubo from the Divine Light were solemn. They had ordered their subordinates discreetly to maintain discipline. They shouldn't provoke or cause any dispute with the others recklessly. Miao Rong also looked shocked. He was bewildered while looking at the people who had just arrived. At this moment, he was speechless as if he didn't know how to talk. This force of the fiery rain star area was enough to defeat any force of the agate star area. Moreover, they had outnumbered the other forces, obviously. Let alone the fact that the Divine Light had only 3,000 warriors here. Even if this force had attacked the Divine Light's headquarters, they could cause a fatal destruction there. The huge number of the ethereal god realm of this force was so intimidating that it made them feel mentally subdued already. The agate star area was vast, but it would need 4 or 5 forces combined to resist this force of the fiery rain star area. If they wanted to finish the Divine Light's core in this gourd-shaped island, they could crush every single one of the 3,000 warriors here easily. Yushan's force was like a pressing grand mountain, which had suffocated everyone there. However, Yushan didn't look happy at all. Quite the contrary, she looked even more grimaced than Miao Rong and Jubo. After the battleships had anchored by the small island, she ordered her warriors with an exhausted face. Immediately, thousands of big chests emerged from hundreds of battleships. The energy that rippled through those chests was thick and striking. A lanky, archaic-look old man came to Yushan, who was at the second sky of incipient god realm. He was called Shaun. At this moment, he frowned while looking at those chests, as if he was hesitant. Yushan nodded at him. Shaun's face was begrudging as he said, "Open them." Many warriors of the fiery rain star area acted like the thunderstorm as they dashed out and opened the chests floating in the sky. Fierce halos were revealed, which seemed so dazzling. Those several thousand chests were filled with divine crystals, jades, precious metals, and rare woods. The 5-colored crystals were fulgent beside the aromatic pellets and medicines. Various types of cultivating materials that were essential to any warrior were glowing with a magical light that could mesmerize people. Most of the divine crystals in the chests were high quality, with some rare top-quality ones. The energy stored inside was almost in a liquid form, which was murmuring inside the crystals. The spectacular jades had different auras of different energy classes. Some were cool, scorching, icy cold, or filled with thunderbolts. Apparently, they were the customized products aimed at special warriors, which were priceless indeed. Even the meteoric iron, the streamer sand, black metals, etc. that couldn't be found in the potion and tool pavilion, were seen in those chests. Watching them all, people felt that their souls had already sunk into those chests. All the chests were filled with different rare and precious cultivating materials. Miao Rong and Ju Bo looked at them until their eyes had a strange light. They smacked their tongues, counting for a while before they knew that even the combination of all of Divine Light's and Fighting League's properties couldn't compare to the materials in those chests. This finding made Miao Rong and Ju Bo shift restlessly. They looked at the warriors of the fiery rain star area, who had just arrived, even more cautiously. This was filthy rich. Seriously, Miao Rong and Ju Bo sighed with emotions. As we come here this time, we will use only our own sources. We won't consume anything from you guys. Yushan talked slowly while her bright eyes looked at Shi Yin only. She didn't bother to look at Miao Rong, Ju Bo, Sana, Xia Xian Yin, and Ziyao. In her eyes, it seemed only Shi Yin had the right to talk with her. Many warriors of Divine Light were shocked. When they looked at Shi Yin again, they all had an awkward complexion. You just need to ask Leona to help us train our soldiers. We will cover our consumption. We won't ask you to take care of all of things for us. Yushan became dead serious. I know how difficult and brutal the training can be. If some of them die unexpectedly during the training, we won't say a word. Shaun stood by her, frowning. He looked at Shi Yin disbelievingly, lowering his voice. Is he worth our trust and difficulties for such consumption? Shaun's voice wasn't high, but everybody could hear him clearly. They couldn't help but look at him. This man seemed to hold a high position. He was at the second sky of incipient god realm, cultivating the thunderbolt power Upanishad. He must be famous in fiery rain star area. When Yushan talked to him, she was careful and respectful. Leona is an extraordinary genius. I believe that the force she trains can resist the standing army of the God Clan. The standing army of the God Clan? Shaun furrowed his brows as his line of sight raked through the warriors of the Divine Light. His eyes became disdainful. The competence of the team here can't be compared to ours. Is she worth your trust? Many warriors of the Divine Light, including Sana, Jubo, and Ziyao, changed their looks as they felt insulted. The Blood Lance of the Divine Light was famous in the Agate Star area, indeed. Sana and Jubo had confidence in their fleet. However, being disdained today, they all felt angry. Yushan scanned the Divine Light's warriors, talking nonchalantly. They aren't an elite force indeed, but they aren't the force Leona has trained. I believe that if Leona commands them, our troop with a similar competence wouldn't be their match. Shaoan laughed strangely. He looked at the warriors behind him, and then the Blood Lance of the Divine Light. Suddenly, he talked with a severe face. You know that I didn't agree to send so many experts to the Agate Star area for training because I don't believe the Agate Star area could have some good trainer at such high levels. Our family used to battle against the forces of the Agate Star area. I know their fighting competence. So, I don't think they can be compared with the intimidating force of our Fiery Rain Star area. Of course, I know you won't shoot an arrow aimlessly, especially when we are under such a heavy pressure. Shaoan paused for a while, and then continued. Give me something to put my faith on, okay? Also to show your soldiers something that makes them believe. Standing behind him, the warriors from the Fiery Rain Star area had their eyes brightened, looking at Yushan with yearning visages. Yushan frowned, hesitating for a while before talking to Shi. Is Leona here? Shi wore a cold face while standing by the child formation he had just completed. He frowned, squinting at Shaoan and talking deliberately. You can go back to your Fiery Rain Star area now. I won't let Leona help you train your army. Miaorong, Sana, and Jubo were surprised, but they couldn't help appraise him in their minds. Shaoan laughed evilly, while Yushan changed her complexion. After more than 10,000 warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area had arrived in hundreds of battleships, they put a heavy pressure on the chests of the warriors in the gourd-shaped island, making them find it hard to breathe. Although Jubo and Miaorong were at the incipient God Realm, they were no exception. Shaoan and Yushan were both at the second sky of incipient God Realm. They were stronger than the other two. At the same time, the number of the ethereal God Realm experts of their force was overwhelming. No matter which aspect they were to be compared in, the force in this island would always be in the lower position. Thus, Miaorong and Jubo felt dispirited as they weren't as strong as the others. Naturally, they kept silent under such massive pressure. However, when facing Shaoan's doubt and contempt, all people in the island thought that Shi would treat them with great care, and would say good words to them and talk them into their agreement. No one had expected that Shi would give a shocking answer like that. He refused them. Under a mountain-like pressure, he unilaterally erased what he's promised them. All the warriors in the gourd-shaped island were scared. They didn't understand anything. You had promised me. Yushan's eyes got colder while her soft body released a scorching heat of the burning flame. After you can satisfy your men, I will talk to you again. Shi still wore a cold face. If the people you've brought here disdain us or don't trust us, as they think they could kill us easily, then, I'm sorry. We won't welcome you. Please leave the Agate Star area. Hearing him, the Divine Light warriors became excited, while Shaoan and the Fiery Rain Star area warriors had a cold countenance. Kid, your realm isn't high, but your mannerism isn't anywhere low. Shaoan snorted, sneering. I don't think that warriors of your Agate Star area can beat us in military tactics. Have you ever engaged in a battle with the God Clan? Do you know how strong they are? No, you don't. Because you've just met the Dark Shadow Clan, a watchdog of the God Clan. If you did face the God Clan, even if it were a group of warriors without a structure, you guys would be smashed. His finger pointed at the Divine Light's blood lance, fleet with a countenance full of contempt. Taking a deep breath, Shaoan wore a stern face. I used to face the God Clan directly. I know how terrible this clan is, more than anyone else. I know how sharp and magical their formation can be. It's important to train the legions, but if I have to put my hope in someone who has never seen how dangerous the God Clan is, I'm sorry, but it has to be a no. He looked at Yushan, and the warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area also looked at her. Obviously, they didn't trust her. Seems like even you can't have a uniform thought in your own organization. Shi Yin gave a faint smile while talking to Yu Shan impatiently. First, you should manage your internal issues, then you can talk to me. I don't have free time to help you with your discipline. Dares disrespect Madame Yushan? You haughty kid. A third sky of ethereal god realm young man shouted at Shi Yin, his eyes dark and cold like an icicle. He was the patrol leader of a troop who was saved by Yushan. He had always respected and appreciated her for saving his life. In Fiery Rain Star area, Yushan held a superb position. Not many people dared to talk to her like that. Even when Shaoan had doubt and debated her, he needed the 10,000 warriors behind him to be his base of confidence. Yushan's power could be proven as she could gather more than 10,000 elite warriors and materials in just a short time. Shi Yin, I've saved your friends and your family. You don't want to give me face? Yushan glared at the young man over there. Then, she lowered her voice, begging for his favor. Why don't you bring Leona here and compete with the troop led by Shaoan? We can solve things that way, right? My teacher has mobilized so many people to the Agate Star area. She has to bear heavy pressure from the others already. If we can't solve this matter smoothly, it will affect my teacher's reputation badly, said Xian Fei. Shi Yin, Xia Xian Yin whispered to him and nodded. The general picture's more important. The God Clan's too domineering. We aren't the enemy to the Fiery Rain Star area. We will be good allies in the future. Okay then. Pondering for a while, he stood in front of the battleships and 10,000 warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area. Pointing at them, he said coldly, among you guys, if someone under the incipient God realm can beat me up, I will let Leona compete with your Sir Shaoan for a battle. Chapter 1079. Better to fight once. Chapter 1079. Better to fight once. Hearing Shi Yin, both the warriors, the Divine Light, and the Fiery Rain Star area started to clamor boisterously. Shi Yin was at the first sky of ethereal God realm. It wasn't hard to see that. The incipient God realm experts just needed a glance to know of his real realm and cultivation base. At the first sky of ethereal God realm, he wanted to challenge any warrior under incipient God realm. According to him, he could challenge the second sky or the third sky of ethereal God realm, or even characters that had 1 foot stepping into the incipient God realm. How arrogant he was. Yushan and Xian Fei were bewildered. They didn't know why Shi Yin said that, as they hadn't had a chance to see Shi Yin's real performance. Inside that space passage, Shi Yin had just stood and stared. He didn't do anything to show his power. Thus, Yushan and Xian Fei didn't know of his real competence. And this was the first time Yao Rong, Sana, and Zhu Bo met Shi Yin, so they didn't know how strong he was. Even if they assessed Shi Yin's realm highly, they all thought that he didn't know how high the sky was when challenging all warriors under incipient God realm with only his first sky of ethereal God realm. However, there were 2 people who had their absolute trust in him, Xia Xian Yin and Zi Yao. As they used to stay with Shi Yin, they knew that he had many secrets and had witnessed Shi Yin challenging warriors whose realms were higher than his. They were confident in him. They even hoped to see a fight, so they called out to support him. Don't you dare, yelled Zi Yao. Guess you guys are scared, aren't you? Xia Xian Yin smiled gently. Shaoan and the warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area looked like they didn't know whether to cry or smile. They thought what Shi Yin had said was just a big joke. Deep in their mind, they still disdained majority of the warriors on the gourd-shaped island, including Miao Rong and Zhu Bo. Shi Yin stood upright in front of the battleships of the Fiery Rain Star area and continued yelling with his cold face. If one of you dares to try me, let's do it now. He wasn't impulsive or neglecting the situation like Xia Xian Yin had told him. He had made his own decision. This time, there were more than 10,000 warriors that came here from the Fiery Rain Star area. The ethereal God realm experts were so many as well. Their overall competence was indeed intimidating. Their power was greater than any force from the Agate Star area. At the same time, this force had contempt for the Agate Star area. Shao In, their leader, used to fight against the Agate Star area. Together, those factors had made those warriors a serious time bomb. If he couldn't subdue this group of people and make them follow Leona's direction, they would bring an extreme danger to the agate star area. Shi Yin could see the seriousness of this matter. He actually didn't want to deny Yushan's request. The important task he wanted to do here was to subdue the other. He must let them know that it was not easy to threaten the agate star area. They should know that there was someone they must respect in this place. That was how they would stay in their lots and not cause any danger to agate star area. Thus, he tried his best to provoke them, trying to sound as haughty as he could. He aimed at suppressing the others first. Then, he would let Leona smash Shaoan's confidence. Under the 2 layers of attacks, plus Yushan's consultation, he believed that it would be the right way he could make the 10,000 experts of the Fiery Rain Star area ease their minds and stay in Agate Star area for their training. That was how they could have a force that would become a big trouble for the God Clan in the future. There are many ways to say and explain, but it'd be better to fight once. Shi Yin was arrogant, cold, and harsh. His eyes had a brutal gleam of disdain. If you think you're strong, come fight me. If you can beat me up, I can let Leona go back with you to the Fiery Rain Star area. She would listen to you too. Are you sure? Yushan screamed in thrill. She understood Leona's value than anybody else. Shaoan didn't know why, but she knew how precious Leona's talents were. Yushan became excited. She called before consulting with Shaoan. Little Nya. That was a young man at the first sky of ethereal god realm, who cultivated the extremely cold power. He became eye-catching as soon as he appeared. This young man wore a bright silver armor set, whose chest plate had magical drawings. His eyes were as sharp as icicles. He appeared in front of Shi Yin instantaneously. Yushan knew Shi Yin had fused the flames of the origin, so she found a warrior cultivating the cold power to subdue him. Although Nya Han was at the first sky of ethereal god realm, his realm was solid. He had sealed his body for 10 years like a hermit in the north ice prison of the Fiery Rain Star area. His body was now no different from the harsh cold ice. Don't hurt him, requested Yushan. Nya Han smiled coldly as his thoughts activated to mobilize his ethereal extent. Inside the bitter, brutal icy world of his ethereal extent, glaciers connected with each other unceasingly while a snowstorm swirled everywhere. The cold energy slowly seeped into people's bodies. Miao Rong, Sana, Xian Fei, and Zhu Bo focused on Shi Yin, watching carefully. None of them had seen Shi Yin in a battle before. As they didn't know of his fighting competence, they were all waiting. Even Ziyao and Xia Xian Yin were serious, because they hadn't seen him fight in quite a long time. They wanted to see which level he had reached. The bone-chilling energy seeped into Nya Han. At this moment, he looked like a froze man with ice rock attached to his body. His face was covered with frost, which made him look like a 10,000 years old ice corpse emerging from underground. As the cold energy swept through the place, even the space there sounded cracking, as if it was also confined in this icy world. Find someone else? Shi Yin looked calm, but his eyes showed his impatience. His arms slightly swung once, and an aura that could bury any creature burst out from his body instantly. A magical seal floated above his palm like the messenger of death. Slowly, it pressed towards Nya Han. It was the death seal of the Death Power Upanishad. The barren, desolated intent domain was generated from the death seal. Death energy, along with countless gleams of negative moods, congregated together and rumblingly covered Nya Han. Nya Han was dashing like a rainbow. His face suddenly turned as pale as a sheet of white paper. He gathered all of his power to withstand the death seal. However, the death intent domain inside the death seal had destroyed his spirit defense. Nya Han cried pathetically as his body was blown backward, falling into the crowd of the Fiery Rain Star area warriors. Boom, boom, boom. The hard ice covering his body shattered. His body was intact, and his face ashen. He looked aghast as if he had just encountered something very terrible. He couldn't resist even one attack from Shi Yin. Yushan and Shaoan changed their countenances. They looked as though they were considering who would be Shi Yin's next opponent. People on Divine Light's side looked shocked. However, they became excited in the next moment as they thought that the situation was going to be more interesting. That strike was simple and fleeting, so they didn't see enough Shiyan's competence. Now they wanted more. Thus, they all looked at the fiery rain star area's side, waiting for them to send a new expert. Seeing Yushan and C hesitating, Shiyan was impatient. He pointed at a young man. You were quite loud just now. Yeah, it's you then. He pointed at the young man who had shouted at him and wanted to teach him a lesson on behalf of Yushan. That young man was at the third sky of ethereal god realm, cultivating a sharp metal power. His aura was indeed sharp and robust. Shiyan knew he was an expert who had understood his realm thoroughly. As he proactively chose his opponent, the fiery rain star area warriors were all surprised, then looked at him with sneers. This brat is such a fool. He dares to provoke Jinlai Deji. He courts death. Master Jinlai is going to break to incipient god realm, while he is just at the first sky of ethereal god realm. Does he want to die young? Oh, he courts death. The warriors of the fiery rain star area started to mock and tease louder. Yushan and Shaoin were bewildered. They now had an awkward complexion while looking at Jinlai and Shiyan. Their furrowed brows stretched eventually. That man's really strong. Sana took a deep breath while talking. His realm and power aren't lower than mine. Jubo arched his brows, lowering his voice. That kid Shiyan has the guts. He even chose his opponent. SK. A gap of 2 minor realms. He's wild and arrogant. I can't see through him. Sana also didn't understand. Xian Fei's small face looked scared as she looked at Shiyan in the distance, whispering to Jinlai, Jinlai Deji, he has saved me once. Don't hurt him, okay? Jinlai thought that Shiyan couldn't stand a fight with him, so he didn't want to join. However, on hearing Xian Fei say so, he frowned while walking towards the other with a cold face. He then stood facing Shiyan directly. Xian Fei covered her mouth, her bright eyes dull. She didn't know why Jinlai suddenly acted strangely. Anyway, some fiery rain star area warriors standing near Xian Fei knew that she had just made a stupid mistake. Everyone knew that Jinlai liked her. And now, she had asked Jinlai to not hurt Shiyan, which had enraged him badly. Jinlai, show mercy. Yushan darkened her face seeing Jinlai walking to the ground. She hurried to ask him to moderate his attacks. She knew Jinlai's tricks and how brutal he was. She knew that they had to give Shiyan face to invite Leona, and she also knew of the deep relationship between Shiyan and Blood Devil, Bath, and the others. She didn't want to cause any grudges with the forces in Agate Star area. Madam Yushan, don't worry. I won't kill him. Jinlai licked his lips like a wolf before a bloody hunt. Boom, boom, boom. Jinlai had his 10 fingers interlaced while his bones sounded clear explosion. Then, 10 sharp light lances were shot out. 10 sharp metal energy lances with the rigidness and sharpness of a divine metal suddenly turned into 10 gold flood dragons, hissing and roaring inaudibly in the void. They all aimed at Shiyan. Everybody was stern while looking at the 10 gold flood dragons made of metal energy. They were all startled. He could use his energy to create creatures, each with a wisp of his soul. Only the warriors who had touched the door of the incipient god realm could throw out such attacks. Apparently, Jinlai was a peak ethereal god realm expert. As he was confronting Shiyan, who was at the first sky of ethereal god realm, people thought they were using the buffalo knife to butcher a chicken. People had their eyes glued on Shiyan, but 9 out of 10 didn't think he could be an equal opponent of Jinlai. Seeing 10 gold flood dragons dashing towards him, Shiyan was still cold and harsh, while he grinned fiendishly. Almost immediately, a savage, evil spirit current rolled massively like a sea swarming towards the shore. It burst out torrentially, shooting into the sky from Shiyan's body. While the evil spirit was being condensed in the void, it turned into the phantoms of the ferocious, giant demogorgons, which then bared their fangs and claws and grabbed the gold dragons without any fear. At the same time, one hand of his moved into the void, cutting something. It looked like he considered the sky a sheet of fabric that he could cut and trim as he pleased. Narrow but sharp space slits appeared, creating shining space blades. Talking about sharpness, should the metal be the rival of the space blades? The clamor on the ground ceased. and the gourd-shaped island was now so quiet they could even hear the sound of a needle dropping on the floor. Chapter 1080. Topple the Beliefs. Chapter 1080. Topple the Beliefs, Understand. Before the 10 gold flood dragons created by the sharp metal energy could reach Shur-Yin, the phantoms of Demogorgons had stopped them. The Demogorgon phantoms were filled with brutality, bloodlust, and craziness. They were black and icy, carrying a formidable evil aura. Those giant Demogorgons were the combination of the evil spirit and the death energy, with a wisp of Shur-Yan's essence soul. Right after they appeared, they faced the sky and howled, releasing tremendous energy waves. Shur-Yin cut the void with one hand, releasing countless space blades which were even sharper than the sharpest sabers. They all swarmed inaudibly towards Jin Lai. Space slits appeared in the void around Jin Lai, where brilliant beams of light shot out. Confine. Shur-Yan's pupil shrank when he hissed. With that, the space around Jin Lai was locked, as if it was tied by invisible chains. The heaven and earth energy was stagnant, the wind ceased, and the energy vanished. It seemed like even light was forced to stop moving. At that moment, everybody could see Jin Lai halt in the void all of a sudden, as if he was struck by the body-fixing spell. The 10 gold dragons Jin Lai had released trembled hard. The Demogorgons grabbed the dragons, tearing them into small pieces. Gold light bloomed in the sky and then vanished. The confined space now looked like a tranquil lake which just had a big rock dropped in it. It rippled, sending out giant waves. The fine space slits invaded shortly after, causing Jin Lai's body to echo cracking sounds. His face paled, while his eyes showed a gleam of fear. Jin Lai couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood. His god body shook, and in just a blink of an eye, his body had many fine cuts which began to bleed terribly, as if he had been cut by many knives. All the onlookers of the divine light and the fiery rain star area were dead silent. They all gawked, dropping their jaws and looking shocked. Shaolin's bright but cold smile was now turning into a grimace. His lips trembled, but he couldn't utter a word. Yushan's hair bun shivered while locks of her black hair fluttered behind her back. Her bright eyes looked extremely stunned. Miao Rong, Ju Bo, and Sana were dumbstruck like wooden chickens. They were bewildered for a long time before grinning evilly. Huh. Xian Fei let out a low cry, her beautiful eyes filled with radiant lights. At this moment, she didn't know what to say. Many warriors of the fiery rain star area thought they were dizzy. They couldn't help but rub their eyes as though they wanted to see things clearer. They couldn't believe that Jin Lai was pushed into such a state, and that he got hurt in just a short time. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Jin Lai had trickles of blood on the corners of his mouth, but he didn't look dispirited at all. On the contrary, his fighting will was triggered, as he grinned fiendishly. Swish! Dazzling gold lightning beams lingered on his entire body like worms. With a close look, one would recognize that those were actually the bulging veins in his god body. His veins were now golden and glowing, wiggling in his skin and giving him a peculiar look. Fiery Rain Star Area warriors were stunned. They cried in fear, pulling themselves together to observe the fight. Xian Fei covered her mouth, screaming instinctively. Gold Lightning God Body. He's combined the Metal Power Upanishad and Lightning Power Upanishad? Sana changed his countenance to a grimace. Jubo slightly shook his head. No, it's not like that. Jin Lai's main power's the Metal Power Upanishad. I guess he had a lucky encounter, in which his god body was quenched by lightning. Lightning isn't his power, he just has the energy stored in his body, and he can use it together with the metal power. Xia Xian Yen and Ziya were still calm. They didn't show their panic-stricken countenances. Under people's gaze, Jin Lai's veins bulged as if they were real lightning blots. His god body glowed radiantly with golden light, emitting more robust energy waves. His entire body's muscles swelled under the urge of his metal and lightning energies. He was filled with the explosive energy of lightning and metal. Lightning and metal powers had enhanced Jin Lai's god body. At this moment, he looked like a golden man who was molded out of liquid gold. His aura bloomed as he dashed with the rainbow momentum towards Shi Yin. He moved like a sharp, golden sword. Shi Yan's face was calm. He squinted, urging his power Upanishad and hissing for the second time. Confine. Jin Lai, who was storming towards him, halted all of a sudden. However, he forcefully wiggled out of the space confinement. Once again, he stormed towards Shi Yin, this time even faster than before. Shi Yan's eyes were bright. He smiled and nodded as he knew Jin Lai had urged all the energy of his body. His furious power had helped him get rid of Shi Yan's space confinement. Good to see you here. He wasn't afraid, but actually cheered up. He smiled while his god body changed. Under everybody's gaze, his god body suddenly shriveled. His hunky, majestic body became tragically thin. Wisps of pale mist gushed out of his acupuncture points, flooding the surroundings shortly. Many warriors who were watching this battle had to frown, looking at his body. They suddenly felt like their souls had fallen into a fantasy mirror where they were nipped and torn by evil spirits, demons, and wailing ghosts in a blood sea with many white bones jutting out. They felt that both their souls and bodies were invaded by the evil and negative moods. Everybody discolored in fright, hurrying to get themselves together. They all looked panic-stricken. After they had stabilized their souls, they looked at Shi Yin once again, their faces ashen. What kind of an evil power was this? They had just looked at him several times, and their souls had sunk down there. They felt desperate, as if they would never get rid of that blood sea. They seemed to be able to see death approaching. When they could react, they realized that Shi Yin didn't aim at them. With that, they felt even more terrified. Xiaoyin and many other experts of the Fiery Rain Star area couldn't help but remind Jin Lai, "Watch out, don't jump into the mist." Unfortunately, it was too late. Jin Lai was like a sharp, golden sword that directly and violently thrust into the immense white mist. He had jumped into the sea of negative moods, immersing in the blood sea, visiting each island made of white bones. Countless evil spirits and wailing, hungry ghosts were gnawing at his body and soul. It was the negative sea made of the negative energy of the death power Upanishad. It was a soul attack. Right after Jin Lai jumped in, he entered layers of illusions. He lost his mind instantaneously, slashing the ghosts and evil spirits he saw, which didn't actually exist. People who were watching could see everything. They saw Shi Yin squinting and floating aside, looking at Jin Lai, who had lost his mind. The onlookers were now so afraid of Shi Yin. Under people's observation, Shi Yin chuckled, balling his left hand into a fist. He punched Jin Lai neither hurriedly nor slowly. The immortal demon blood was urged. The arm with that fist suddenly emitted a brutal, savage energy. Spikes jutted out of his elbows, while rigid, iron-like armor covered his arm. At this moment, his arm showcased endless evil features. Boom! Jin Lai got hit in his chest and was blown backward like an asteroid. His god body resounded popping sounds, as if someone was frying beans unceasingly. He was struck, sent into the crowd of the Fiery Rain Star area battleships. Warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area had to catch him and check his situation. Jin Lai panted, gasping for his breath. His face reddened as he shoved the others away. "I'm all right." He adjusted his condition, trying to attack Shi Yin one more time. But right at this moment, Yushan and Xiaoyin both stopped him. They were stern, their looks towards Shi Yin complicated. "I'm okay. I can fight more," Jin Lai cried. Xiaoyin turned around to glare at him, sighing. He showed mercy. Or else, you wouldn't be safe and sound. As he didn't defend himself and Shi Yin had hit him with an ultimate energized punch, seeing that his god body was intact, even if Jin Lai didn't know what had happened to him, Xiaoyin and Yushan had realized it. They could see clearly that when Shi Yin struck his attack, and at the moment Jin Lai was blown backward, the explosive energy had dispersed out. It didn't burst off his god body. Otherwise, even if Jin Lai's god body didn't explode, he would be hurt severely. Jin Lai is defeated. Yushan was resolute, declaring the result of this battle. She didn't allow him to fight anymore. The Divine Lights and Fiery Rain Star area's experts were boiling as they looked at Shi Yin with fear. "Shi Yin, was only at the first sky of Ethereal God Realm. He had used his first sky of Ethereal God Realm cultivation base to forcefully resist Jinlai at his peak of Ethereal God Realm. Even more appallingly, he had gained the upper hand right from the beginning. He had even showcased that if he used his strongest abilities, he could kill Jinlai shortly. He had toppled their cognition of powers completely. After they had arrived in the gourd-shaped island, the warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area had felt contempt toward the Divine Light warriors and the warriors of Agate Star area in general. But at this moment, they all quieted down, thinking about their purpose in taking this trip seriously. They didn't dare to disdain or underestimate the people here anymore. Xian Fei's beautiful eye showed she was stunned. She suddenly jumped and yelled, "Wow, you're so strong. Even Jinlai Deji couldn't beat you." Jinlai was the famous ethereal god realm expert in Fiery Rain Star area. His extraordinary fighting competence had gained people's approval. It was also why when he started to attack Shi Yin, the experts of the Fiery Rain Star area had assumed that Shi Yin would lose. Today, Jinlai failed, beaten up badly. He was lucky that his opponent had shown mercy. Otherwise, Jinlai would have been killed today. "You guys can send another one." Shi Yin frowned, looking at the crowd of the Fiery Rain Star area in front of him. "You have like 10,000 warriors here with many ethereal god realm experts. I can slowly fight with you then. Don't worry that I would have to consume a lot of energy and that I wouldn't be able to resist you anymore." Warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area exchanged look, but they all kept silent. Jubo, Miao Rong, and the Divine Light warriors were filled with smiles, feeling so proud. "Are you really at the first sky of Ethereal God Realm?" Shaoan pondered for a while before asking. "Can't fake it," Shi Yin answered coldly. Shaoan sighed while looking at Yushan. "I think no other Ethereal God Realm expert in our force can defeat him. I admit that I have looked down the fellows in the Agate Star area. Leona should be like what you've told me. She is a genius in strategy and military tactics. I'm sure nothing's wrong with Leona's talents. I've seen them with my own eyes," replied Yushan. "I'm convinced." Shaoan thought for a while and then stooped his head, admitting his defeat. "I will watch over our soldiers properly, and we will listen to the others' directions. We won't have any dispute or objections." Yushan was surprised, exhaling in relief. She then begged Shi Yin, "I'm sure my soldiers will listen to the commander. Can we meet Leona now?" Shi Yin frowned, pondering for a while before nodding. Chapter 1081. Link Up. Chapter 1081. Link Up _ Before Yushan's force arrived, Shi Yin had completed the child formation. When Blood Devil, Leona, and Fei Lan went to Devil Blood Star, he had reminded Fei Lan to open the Mother formation in Devil Blood Star. Since he had prepared the suitable conditions for both sides, he was able to connect the Devil Blood Star and this place at any time. At the center of the island, space constantly changed on the center of the radiant crystal child formation. Space nodes twinkled like stars with the mysterious power of nature. Under the other's gaze, Shi Yin chuckled and then stepped into the child formation. He flashed and then disappeared. Dash! A corner of Devil Blood Star. The Mother formation that many warriors were watching carefully suddenly glowed and rippled with many halos. Before people could react, a shadow emerged. Yang Zhua, Shi Jian, and Long Zhu, who were standing around, stepped forward and cheered loudly. The Mother formation was situated in the spacious yard inside the palace where the Yang family and the others stayed in Devil Blood Star. This area had many buildings, the new homes of the warriors from Grace Mainland. At the same time, there were warriors from Raging Flamestar area. This place hosted many people of various races, indeed. Outside the vast city was the immense forest with abundant earth and heaven energy. Many people were moving through the spacious court. There were guards watching the Mother formation all the time. Of course, since Devil Blood Star was Blood Devil's territory, it was safe. Not many people dared to make a fuss here. "Hey boy, why did you come back?" Shi Jian laughed happily, his eyes excited. "I've reached King God Realm." Shi Yan's soul consciousness moved around as he looked at his grandfather. He praised the old man immediately. "Congrats, grandfather." Before he left Devil Bloodstar, he had left the 1,000-fold lotus to his relatives. Shurjin was one of the lucky ones who was nurtured by the 1,000-fold lotus. Together with the enormous amount of cultivating materials provided by Potion and Tool Pavilion, Shurjin wasn't surprised to see him reach King God Realm. There were many people who had the same progress as Shurjin, with abundant earth and heaven energy, divine crystals, and pellets. Those who came from Grace Mainland had all increased their realms significantly. Releasing his soul consciousness to sense for a while, Shurjin smiled sincerely. He nodded and said, "Everybody is making progress." Aside from the other members of the Yang family, Chao Qiu Dao, Tang Yuan Nan, and Jun Hao also had their realms increased significantly. They had all reached exquisite levels. They were all warriors who could still progress in Grace Mainland where energy was about to be exhausted. In this Devil Bloodstar, with extra energy supply and the help of divine crystals and pellets, all of them had advanced much more than expected. While Shurjin, Yangzhua, and Shurjin were talking, the mother formation flickered behind them. Bao Ao, Jeji, and Bo Ro slowly emerged. After they arrived, they immediately released their soul consciousness to sense and send out their special energy fluctuations. Thrilling screams and shouts arose from the palace next to them. Shortly after, experts of the demon clan swayed through the crowd to come. They were all excited and touched. "Master! Master! Master!" The members of the demon clan from Grace Mainland kneeled down in front of Bao Ao and Jieji. They all had tears in their eyes. After 100 years, the masters who used to lead them reappeared in front of their eyes. Bao Ao, Jieji, and Bo Ro had left Grace Mainland to find hope for their fellows, just like Shurjin. 100 years had passed and today, they finally met up in this place. All were filled with excitement and emotions. "Where is Leona?" Shurjin squinted, releasing his soul consciousness to find Benny. He then used the soul to ask him. "She went to the monster clans." Benny was surprised for a while before he could answer. Shurjin nodded. His floating soul consciousness suddenly felt Wu Lan. He used his soul to send her a message. "I'm Shurjin. Please contact Leona and ask her to return to Devil Bloodstar now. I have a task for her." Wu Lan was the major domo of the Devil Bloodstar. She didn't go to Shadow Ghostly Prison since she had to take care of Devil Bloodstar. This woman had a good relationship with Shurjin, though. Indeed, hearing from Shurjin, Wu Lan smiled and answered, "Not a problem. I'm going to notify her, but I don't know what she will say." Haha, at this moment, she's the greatest treasure of the monster clan. Unless she wants to leave, no one can take her away. Shurjin smiled as he was a little amazed. He knew it was like that. With Leona's talents, Bath and Gute wouldn't let her stay idle. They would try their best to make her use all of her efforts to build the monster legions. "Okay, you just notify her for me then," Shurjin replied, and then said nothing more. He began to wander around. He saw Chao Qiu Dao, Chao Zhilan, the members of the Chao family, Tang Yuan Nan, and the disciples of the Three God sect. His allies all had extraordinary realms, but they still had a long way before reaching him. Standing in front of the warriors he knew, he acted casually. However, the others were more cautious about seeing him. The invisible river between the realm and status had distanced them furthermore. No matter how friendly and close he tried to be, the others didn't dare to joke or chat with him anymore. They had even considered the hidden meanings in his words if there were any. This made Shurjin upset. Tang Yuan Nan said that Ouyang Luo Shuang of the Three God sect had left alone earlier to pursue the true meaning of powers. It seemed like she had been advancing really fast. In Grace Mainland, this woman was very lucky to get the incipient extent left by some incipient God Realm expert. She had always leaped realms. When she went to Agate Star area, she was like a fish swimming in the vast sea. Every time Shurjin met her, he always had a new feeling. She didn't stay in Devil Bloodstar to cultivate. She had her own decision. Perhaps when they met again, she would reach incipient God Realm already. Taking a walk around Devil Bloodstar, Shurjin gathered with Ka Tua, Fei Lan, and Benny. Those who had won inheritance of the Bloodthirsty's bloodline had a mysterious connection with him. When they accompanied him, they could receive a lot of benefits, which made them stick to him all the time. Today, Fei Lan had reached third sky of ethereal god realm. Ka Tua was at first sky of ethereal god realm, while Benny had second sky of original god realm. The three of them had different but marvelous powers Upanishads. One day, they would become the overlords of a whole region of this universe. Senior, I have something to talk to you about. Benny was a little hesitant. At this moment, Shi Yin was standing by the Mother Formation in Devil Bloodstar. He was about to return to the Shadow Ghostly Prison to give Yushan an answer. What do you want to tell me? Shi Yin told him, next time you don't need to hesitate. Feel free to talk to me. Just don't say nonsense. Benny smiled in relief. I'm worried it's not appropriate. Can you elaborate? Shi Yin frowned. Senior, do you really need good commanders who are good at planning strategies and tactics? Benny looked excited. Shi Yin nodded. I think I can do that too. Benny suddenly became serious. Recently, I've comprehended the powers of my family's divine weapon. I got the family inheritance from it. Those complex strategic dispositions of troops carry the destructive principle of our family. I think if I can control the troops, I can promote their power to an intimidating level. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. Benny came from another star area. He had the inheritance of destruction. At the same time, he had a divine weapon with the great power of destruction. According to him, when his family was still powerful, their army could confront the God Clan directly because of their special dispositions of troops. While he was studying with the divine weapon, he had received the inheritance of strategic dispositions of forces. His confidence caught Shi Yan's attention. Shi Yan asked him, "Is it true?" Benny pointed at his head and said excitedly, I have many thoughts, many mysteries of the army dispositions that my family had used and trained the forces. We have more than 10 different dispositions and tactics, but I need to practice. Kid, can you do that? Ka Tua felt strange. Why do you know those tactic things all of a sudden? Do you know how many bloody battles Madame Leona has experienced to have her current attainment? In our star area that year, Madame Leona's bloody legion was the invincible existence. Harumph. Benny lifted his head arrogantly. That year, our family's army of destruction could resist the extreme soldiers of the God Clan. The inheritance I got is from the divine weapon of my family. I'm confident that I can compete with Madame Leona. Fei Lan nodded and said to him, Good. It's good that you have confidence. She turned to Shi Yin. We can give him a chance. This boy has excellent innate endowments indeed. He's much stronger than many geniuses I've known. When he's serious about something, just like you, he will be wild and brutal. He has powers and bloodthirsty deeds. Good boy. Fei Lan always had keen eyes. Shi Yin trusted her. Pondering for a while, he said, I will let you try. Later on, you will command a troop to compete with people. Do you dare to do that? Why not? Benny grinned evilly. He shook his head. I got knowledge stuffed in my brains. I want to see if it's sharp enough. If you give me a chance, I'm sure I will use it to the best of my abilities. Okay, come with me. Shi Yin jumped into the Mother Formation. Fei Lan, Benny, and Ka Tua followed him immediately. In the next moment, they reappeared on the small, gourd-shaped island. Yushan and Fiery Rain Star area experts were waiting for them. As Yushan didn't see Leona, she was disappointed. She asked, Where is she? Training the soldiers in the Monster Clan's territory. I've notified her. She needs time to get back. Shi Yin explained and then introduced. Hey, this is my little brother. He also has good attainment on training and strategic dispositions. If you don't mind, I will let him play for a while with Precursor Shaowen. What do you say? Shaowen frowned and glanced at Benny. If he wants to play, I'll let my little student play with him for a while. Since Benny had only second sky of original God realm and was still so young, Shaowen didn't put him in his eyes. Shi Yin smiled. He didn't seem angry. He said to Xia Xian Yin, Let me borrow 300 warriors of your Windstorm War Department. The warriors of the Water Moon and Windstorm War Departments were all here. Their battleships were anchored by the sea near the island. They could come here at any minute. Okay. Xia Xian Yin smiled and agreed. Little Dao, you choose 300 warriors and fight with him. Shaoan lowered his voice to order someone. Yes, master. A young man with a tender smile appeared. He was also at second sky of original God realm. He started to choose his soldiers, neither hurried nor fast. Use King God realm warriors, suggested Shi Yin. Shaoan nodded in agreement. Chapter 1082. Talented Field Commander. Chapter 1082. Talented Field Commander. Sir. Above the vast sea, 2 troops of King God realm warriors were gathering and lining up in special dispositions. They were fighting fiercely. The young man was called Yu Dao, and he was a disciple of Shaoan. He also knew how to use strategic dispositions. He had experienced many fights against the God clan. He was deemed experienced in this field. Yu Dao wore a serene face and hid in the center of the formation of 300 warriors at King God realm of Fiery Rain Star area. He swayed like a ghost shadow, continually sending his commands in a low and gloomy voice. His voice was clear and cold as if it had some magic that could stir up the warriors of Fiery Rain Star area. With the charm of his voice, those warriors started to have a desire to fight. Their fighting competence was actually boosted. Yu Dao cultivated sound power Upanishad. With this kind of power, he had the natural advantage in commanding a battle. At the same time, he could trigger the potential of his warriors. He made them not wary of death, make them wildly bloodthirsty, and could even make them not feel pain. 300 soldiers of the troop he was commanding created a blood saber, which was ruthless and bloodthirsty. The chi of the 300 people had combined into one flow. Their different energy fluctuations started to synchronize and create a marvelous synergy. This troop of 300 warriors gave people the aura of a legion of 1,000 soldiers and 10,000 horses dashing. It made Xia Xian Yin and the warriors of the divine light discolor. Apparently, Yu Dao was like Xia Xian Yin. He was also a warrior whose expertise was to control a troop. He had innate talents in this field. Shaoan chuckled and said, Yu Dao cultivates sound power Upanishad. Although his cultivation base isn't really exquisite, his sound ability could urge the potential of his soldiers. He could make them not feel pain and not be afraid of death. They would become wild and fearless. Of course, Yu Dao knows how to command his soldiers in the field. After hundreds of battles, he could still surprise people every time. Yu Sha nodded and gave her compliments. Sir Shaoan, you're lucky to have such a good student. Shaoan laughed. His face cheered up. Many warriors of Fiery Rain Star area also looked at Yu Dao without blinking, light filling their eyes. Compared to Yu Dao, Benny's performance was much worse. It was Benny's first time controlling a troop in a battle. He had the knowledge of different tricks, secrets, and major stationing. However, he had never practiced them before. He appeared somewhat flurried. His voice also hurried and muddled. Thus, before they had engaged in the battle, their disposition was twisted like a mess of tangled fibers. It didn't look like a professional stationing at all. Warriors of Divine Light and Fighting League looked disappointed. The warriors under Benny's command didn't have confidence. They scattered and didn't even listen to Benny's orders, which assigned their stations. The warriors of Fiery Rain Star area laughed as they saw such a poor arrangement. Shaoan frowned. He contemplated for a while and gave Yu Dao a gesture, telling him not to attack immediately. You don't respect us. Shaoan darkened his face. Sending a rookie like that kid, a person who has never commanded in a battle, to confront us. You look down on us. Yu Shan also frowned. Xia Xian Yin was baffled. She stepped forward and whispered, Should we change the commander? Let me fight that Yu Dao. I believe I'm as strong as he is. I'm sure we won't have an ugly defeat. She could see that Benny didn't have experience. She didn't know why Shi Yin wanted Benny to command this troop, but this situation wasn't something Benny could control. As Fiery Rain Star area could make a fit about this, she proactively wanted to take the responsibility. Shi Yin frowned and shouted, Benny, where's your wild power? Staying in the middle of the mess, Benny was so worried as if he had a flame in his heart. All of a sudden, he was shaken. A bloodthirsty desire swarmed over him. His anxiety boiled while his eyes had the evil light of destructive power, which was deadly and dangerous. Boom! A flow of energy that could kill all living beings shot out from Benny's body. He seemed to become a completely different person. He became extremely wild and crazy. A warrior of the Windstorm War Department didn't listen to him. He rose his hand to pat that man. The man's bones exploded, his body almost smashed. Benny's eyes turned garnet, which seemed to have blood brimming. A destructive desire diffused that could affect the souls of all warriors in his troop, their soul altars controlled. Immediately, Benny's order flowed like a gush of water as his soul consciousness poured into those people's brains directly. The chaotic melee of 300 soldiers suddenly had an aura that could destroy Earth and heaven. Each warrior of Windstorm War Department seemed to be boosted to the extreme. Now, they looked as if they had just fallen into bedevilment. They all became wild and brutal. Benny's destructive aura had collected all the auras of his troopers' energy. In just a blink, he combined them into one massive flow. He looked like the devil that commanded his troop. The troop of 300 warriors seemed to turn into a giant demon from the 9 Serenity Purgatory. The evil and mad energy fluctuations violently swarmed towards Yu Dao's troop. He uses his soul to control people's chi and operating mechanism, gathering everything into one unit. Shaoan discolored all of a sudden, his body shivering. Yushan's eyes brightened radiantly. She was in disbelief. Apparently, she was also aghast. People who knew strategic military disposition screamed. They looked dull as they couldn't explain what they were observing. Using the soul to gather the auras of the subordinates and using the soul consciousness to connect the soul altars were the subtlest methods to control the troop in combat that only legendary field commanders who ruled the whole region could do. As Shaoan and Yushan used to fight the God Clan, they knew that the clan had just a few talented field commanders that could do so. They were astounded, indeed. It was obviously the first time Benny controlled a troop in combat. His wildness could create something magically terrifying when he used his soul to control the trooper's operating mechanism and chi to create the tide of the strongest attack. It was unimaginable, indeed. Yu Dao's troop had a totally different feeling compared to the audiences when they saw Benny and his troopers coming. In Yu Dao and the warriors of Fiery Rain Star Area's eyes, there was no Benny and his troop. There was a monster that had just crawled out of its pit in hell. With an open mouth, it spurted blood scent as it was storming violently towards them. It wanted to tear them apart. It was not a hallucination. They could even see the cold fangs and the evil, cold eyes of the monster. Their minds were subdued in just a blink of an eye. They felt dispirited as they couldn't resist this troop. Their formation was scattered from its formerly sharp disposition. Many people felt their feet soften. Seeing the earth-destroying aura like the devil from hell, Yu Dao felt his heart become cold. His eyes showed his panic. Yu Dao's troop was defeated right before the battle began. "Stop!" Shaoan thundered, shaking the entire sky. Under his thundering voice, what Yu Dao and his troop saw had changed. Now they didn't see the monster anymore. They pulled themselves together and found that it was the Windstorm warriors and Benny in the middle of their formation. Benny's eyes were garnet, his face bloodthirsty. The destructive energy swirled around him. That energy was like countless silk fibers that sewed the Windstorm warriors' chi into one bunch. The onlookers could see clusters of gray mist and clouds hovering around the troop of 300 warriors that vaguely formed the terrifying monster. It was very similar to the Demogorgon phantom that Shi Yin had created. However, the monster above the troop of 300 was more gigantic and brutal. It was the chi and operating mechanism of 300 people that Benny had used his extraordinary power to collect and perform. It looked so real. The audiences could even see a fearsome, giant demon crawling above Benny's head. They could even feel the malicious aura of that demon, which made them discolor in fear. They now had to consider Benny once again. Gathering the troopers' auras to generate a demon that looked so real was some strategic disposition technique that went against nature. Even Shaoan and Yushan, who used to fight with the God Clan, were dumbstruck. Now, they knew that if it wasn't the first time Benny controlled a troop, and if he was a talented, experienced field commander, he could make his core change earth-shakingly. The experts of Divine Light and Fighting League were also astounded. Miao Rong and Zhu Bo frowned as light sparkled restlessly in their eyes. Can we take this boy to our fighting league? Miao Rong suddenly approached Xia Xin Yin and asked seriously. This boy is a rough gem. Once he gets used to strategic dispositions, he will be a top field commander. Xia Xin Yin smiled, her beautiful eyes raking around. You can ask Shi Yin. If he agrees, we will try our best to have him. Who's foolish like that? Miao Rong forced a smile, shaking his head. He knew that hope was just in vain. Shi Yin, if he agrees to join the divine light, we will do our best to nurture him. Zhu Bo came forward and spoke with an earnest face. Shi Yin was surprised. He shook his head. Benny was slowly recovering from his insane state. He calmed down, but his eyes were still fluttering. How do you compare him to Leona? Shaoan dismissed Yu Dao's team. His face became so severe. He looked at Benny and asked Yushan, I think with this kid, it's not important whether we could have Leona or not. He could see Benny's potential. As it was just the first time Benny commanded in combat, if he studied harder, he would become a peerless, talented commander. Since he had never seen Leona, in his eyes, Benny was the top field commander. He thought that Leona couldn't be compared to Benny. This boy's not bad, but he lacks a lot of experience compared to Leona. Yushan chuckled. Unless he has experienced more than 100 battles, he will have no chance to resist Leona. He doesn't have experience, and he has never trained an army. Shaoan's eyes brightened up. Is Leona that excellent? Maybe Benny will surpass her later. Right now, he's far behind her. You tell me, who do we need now? Yushan smiled. Both. Shaoan's eyes twinkled. It's good that we can have both of them. Shi Yin glared at him before smiling and waving his hand. We're done here. Leona will come very soon. I will arrange for her to train your soldiers. About Benny. If you aren't afraid that he would cause harm, you can let him torture your soldiers for a while to help him earn experience. It's okay. If he agrees to work with us, it's our honor. We're glad to do that. Shaoan hurried to reply. We're also glad to send our men for him to torture. Miao Rong and Zhu Bo also expressed. They looked excited and enthusiastic to proactively propose and chime in. Chapter 1083. Meditate and Calm the Soul. Chapter 1083. Meditate and Calm the Soul. Just like Leona, after Benny had shown his talents, he had become burning hot in others' eyes. Warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area wanted him, and so did the Divine Light and Fighting League. At this moment, the forces staying on the Cloud Sea Star were boiling up because of Benny. They all asked Shi Yin to have this talented commander. After that battle, Benny's debut had shown off his talents. He had become a character that could call the wind and summon the rain. People directly ignored his low realm as they only considered his talented leadership. But Benny listened to Shi Yin and knew whom he could trust. Thus, he just kept silent. So, everybody now targeted Shi Yin. Shi Yin told them that they didn't have the spare efforts to train the corps for different forces. At this moment, they would only help the Fiery Rain Star area. Afterward, when they had free time, they would discuss this matter again. He understood that the Fiery Rain Star area was now bearing a heavy pressure from the God Clan's threat. At this moment, many forces of the Fiery Rain Star area were facing the God Clan. It was crucial to him and the Fiery Rain Star area to improve the overall competence of the latter's competence. Only when the God Clan got damaged would it have no free time to notice the growth of Bloodthirsty's bloodline. It wouldn't pay attention to the Agate Star area then. Yushan and Shaoan were thrilled on listening to Shi Yin. They felt so lucky, and this trip wasn't in vain. Divine Light and Fighting League felt extremely disappointed. However, Shi Yin didn't have any relationship with them, and he didn't promise them anything. Shortly after, Shi Yin, Yushan, and Shaoan discussed. They agreed to arrange the Fiery Rain Star area warriors to stay on this Cloud Sea Star. The Cloud Sea Star was in a corner of the Shadow Ghostly Prison. It was near the Space Passage Hub, and also near the Divine Light and the Fighting League. With the Child Formation, it was connected to the Devil Blood Star. Its location was quite convenient for them. No matter it was for Leona to come and train, or for the warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area to return to their headquarters and transport more materials, it was really convenient. The Cloud Sea Star used to belong to the Dark Shadow clan, and the Divine Light had claimed the star after that. However, since Shi Yin had rescued 3,000 warriors of the Divine Light, they decided to retreat from this place. If Shi Yin hadn't participated, normally, the Fighting League would take this Cloud Sea Star. Actually, Miao Rong and Xia Xian Yin had planned to claim this Cloud Sea Star. However, after Shi Yin, Xiao Yin, and Yushan had discussed their plan, they decided to make the Cloud Sea Star their rest stop. So, Miao Rong and Xia Xian Yin didn't hesitate to agree, and declared that the Fighting League wouldn't have any other intention toward this planet. Thus, the Cloud Sea Star belonged to Shi Yin for the time being, and the warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area could stay here for a while. Because of Shi Yin's special relationships with Xia Xian Yin and Zi Yao, warriors of the Divine Light and Fighting League could come to the Cloud Sea Star as well. Somehow, this planet had become the communication center of different forces, a crucial place. With the number of more than 10,000 warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area here, the other forces in Shadow Ghostly Prison didn't dare to mess up with the Cloud Sea Star. With the Fighting League's backup, no one would come here to court death. The Cloud Sea Star had been appropriately arranged, but Zi Yao and the Divine Light experts hadn't left yet. They wanted to stay and widen their knowledge when Leona came back. They did want to learn the art of commanding Corps. Shi Yin didn't oppose, so Ju Bo and Sana were happy. They found some islets to stay as guests here. Xia Xian Yin and Miao Rong hadn't left yet, so the warriors of the Windstorm and Water Moon War Department were also settled on the Cloud Sea Star. They had the same thought as Ju Bo and Sana. They wanted to exchange the excellent tactics and strategic disposition of troops with Benny and Leona. Of course, Zi Yao and Xia Xian Yin wouldn't neglect Shi Yin. They often met up with him, talking about cultivating methods to seize the chance to be with him. Time flew hurriedly, and half a month passed by. Within this period when Leona hadn't arrived yet, Benny had taken the Fiery Rain Star area warriors to play with him. He had applied many strange and rare methods to train the troops, some of which were unimaginable. For example, he let some warriors with the same power Upanishad use a secret technique to connect their soul altars, which would combine their powers when attacking or defending. Benny had some secret techniques that could connect people closely. They worked and gave rise to incredible attacks indeed. He also arranged the warriors with power Upanishads that could support each other into smaller stations. The powers they used could support each other magically. At the same time, he did prepare the formation using different weapons and armors, and also some odd dispositions. Benny had them all in his head. He just lacked experiences. Today, as he got the Fiery Rain Star area's volunteers for his practice, he was so happy that he didn't feel tired at all. Xiao In and Yushan had paid close attention. In the beginning, they couldn't ease their mind because they didn't know what he was doing. However, after 10 days, when they saw how powerful their soldiers were when they applied Benny's techniques, they immediately decided to make their troops cooperate their best with Benny, no matter how hard he wanted them to play in the field. They could ease their minds now, and even thought that if Leona didn't arrive, Benny here would be enough to transform the Corps they brought here into a mighty force that could resist the God Clan. For half a month, Shi Yin often took a walk with Xia Xian Yin and Zi Yao around the Cloud Sea Star. When they had free time, they would go to watch the sky and the ocean, putting aside the worries of chaos and the threat from the God Clan. It was a rare chance for them to relax their tense nerves. Shi Yin sometimes tried to understand his power Upanishads as well. Unexpectedly, he did harvest something. Under the state of his calm mind and soul, when he let go of everything to understand the magnificent natural sights around, it seemed easier to increase his realm. This finding surprised and cheered him up. All of a sudden, he recognized that he had never had a quiet moment in his life, and he actually needed time to relax. He should stop somewhere to admire the beauty of nature and let his heart and soul feel at peace. While he sometimes had a flash of recognition of his powers, the tier of power Upanishads in his soul altar would be sparkling with starlight. At the same time, his life and death power Upanishad seemed to generate something magical. He wouldn't try to put his mind to study them, just enjoying those fleeting glimpses. In this state, he felt his soul slowly sublimate. His ethereal extent had some changes, As he reached the second sky of ethereal god realm, he suddenly realized that when he had his soul and body relaxed this time, it was a rare spiritual baptism for him. He really needed this kind of calmness and peace to increase and strengthen his realm. This kind of peaceful and relaxing life also cheered up Ziyao and Xia Xianyan. After the small quarrels they used to have in the beginning, they had become calmer. Sometimes, when they went with Shi Yin to watch the clouds changing in the sky, they could stay silent for a long time as they just simply enjoyed the sweet, comfy moment with their loved one. It wasn't a short time since the two women had known Shi Yin. However, they had never had a moment when they could ease their mind and enjoy the natural attractions around with Shi Yin. The days and nights they had spent with this man had always been accompanied by fighting, running, magical encounters, and dangers. There were very little moments they could just stand and enjoy the magic of life without worrying about the chaos behind. The quiet and cozy life in this cloud sea star was what they had always yearned for. Just like Shi Yin, they also had the chance to relax and open their mind to comprehend the mysteries of their powers Upanishads. They felt that their souls being purified, and something had changed in their soul altars as well. This wonderful feeling was hard to describe. Unfortunately, the happy days couldn't last long. On this day, while they were standing on the reef to watch the immense sea with many white waves, they heard Shaoan screaming. Many warriors of the fiery rain star area were gathering on the gourd-shaped island far from them. The battleships that had anchored and emerged undersea also floated up. Shaoan and Yushan wore a solemn face as they were observing the sky. What's going on? Ziyao's face was cold. Someone comes to provoke us? She felt irritated because her peaceful days were disturbed. She did want to shout and curse. Yeah, if it were not someone coming, Shaoan wouldn't be that cautious. While frowning, Shi Yin said, "It should be someone mighty who can threaten Shaoan. Let me check it out." Then, while closing his eyes, Shi Yin sent a wisp of his soul consciousness, which flew like a space saber that could cut off the sky, disappearing into the void. After 10 breaths, his eyes slowly darkened. It's the Potion and Tool Pavilion as the main force. They also have the Fire Clan, Crystal Clan, and Ice Clan, with around 2,000 battleships and 30,000 warriors. Xia Xianyan and Zi Yao changed their complexion. They are the force of Second Elder Gu He, right? Xia Xianyan threw Zi Yao a glance. A couple days ago, I received the information saying that the Elder Conference of the Potion and Tool Pavilion ended. Zualu didn't participate in that conference. When we returned from the space passage, Zualu had taken his subordinates and disappeared. No one knows where he is now. He sure knows his fate if the Potion and Tool Pavilion will chase and exterminate him. He has taken action and avoided the danger. With Zualu's absence, in the Elder Conference, Second Elder Gu He took the control. He has vaguely replaced the Pavilion Master. I don't know the details, though. Although Feng Yin was there, she's not a member of the Potion and Tool Pavilion, so she couldn't join the conference. But I heard that Fu Wei, Bettina, and Jia Duo failed. Fu Wei has to face the wall and reflect on herself. Xia Xianyan frowned deeply while talking. We don't know what happened inside the Potion and Tool Pavilion structure. The only thing we can confirm is that the ruling party of the pavilion now isn't Bettina or Fu Wei. It's Second Elder Gu He. Gu He? Shi Yin contemplated, then looked at Zi Yao. Gu He and the Divine Light had a close relationship. He thought if Xia Xianyan knew about the issues of the Potion and Tool Pavilion, Zi Yao must know something as well. Gu He's the second elder of the Potion and Tool Pavilion. His power in the Potion and Tool Pavilion isn't less than Great Elder Zualu. Today, the cooperation between Zualu and the Dark Shadow Clan has been exposed, so he has lost his party and the ally. Gu He now naturally controls everything. Third Elder Bettina doesn't have a strong background, so she couldn't face Gu He. This time, it wasn't beyond our expectation that Gu He won in the Elder Conference. Xiao thought and then said, something had happened back in the Elder Conference, but we don't know the details. We just know that Gu He keeps the Potion and Tool Pavilion's cannon now. The one with the cannon will be the master of the Potion and Tool Pavilion, right? Xia Xianyan changed her visage. Yeah, the former pavilion master of the Potion and Tool Pavilion had his soul vanished. He's not different from a dead warrior now. With the cannon, Gu-he only needs to carry out the last ceremony and ritual, and he can be the newly elected pavilion master. Ziyao nodded. Doesn't it say that the one who found the cannon could step on the glorious throne of the pavilion master? Shi Yin was confused. I guess Gu-he found some reason to blame Fu Wei for something. Otherwise, he couldn't have taken the cannon from her. In short, the current master of the potion and tool pavilion is Gu-he. If not, it would not have been easy for our divine light to enter the shadow ghostly prison. Gu-he had arranged everything. My teacher has carried out his plan, said Ziyao. Then, why does Gu-he come to Cloud Sea Star? From his momentum, I guess he is aiming at the Fiery Rain Star area warriors. Xia Xian Yin was also confused. We will know shortly. Shi Yin stood up. Starlight swirled around him like a sprinkle which condensed into small meteors. He then shot out in the direction of the gourd-shaped island. Xia Xian Yin and Ziyao followed him immediately. Chapter 1084, Gu-he. Chapter 1084, Gu-he on a thunderstorm. The potion and tool pavilion's battleships emerged from the thick clouds of the Cloud Sea Star, putting pressure on the small sea area underneath. The heavy, mountain-like pressure came from the warriors on the battleships with so many giant, crystalline artilleries. The energy inside those artilleries was brimming as if they could fire at any minute. The battleships of the Fire Clan, Crystal Clan, and Ice Clan surrounded the Cloud Sea Star from 3 different major directions. They blocked the sky, releasing their intimidating auras. Second Elder Gu-he of Potion and Tool Pavilion was close to the Fire Clan, Crystal Clan, and Ice Clan. He also had a close relationship with the forces like Divine Light. He was a mighty character who had the competence to resist Great Elders Walu. Right now, as Walu had fallen, he had to live like a stray dog. No one knew where he was hiding. Gu-he became an overlord, the official representative of the Potion and Tool Pavilion. It was his time now to rule over all the offices of the Potion and Tool Pavilion. Xiaoyin, Yushan, and the warriors of the Fiery Rain Star area were looking at the sky with stern and dark complexions. Many battleships of the Fiery Rain Star area were mobilized from the nearby islands and in the sea area. They flew up while releasing a hazy halo. All things were ready to engage in the coming battle. Right at this moment, Shi Yin glided like a meteor over the sky and appeared above the gourd-shaped island. Miao Rong, Zhu Bo, Sana, and the experts of the Divine Light and Fighting League also gathered up. They were so surprised on seeing the Potion and Tool Pavilion's battleships emerging. An orange-red, crystalline war chariot, which was strangely beautiful and yet luxurious, appeared with dazzling light. It carried a lot of strange divine crystals. An obese man squinted his small eyes while watching the warriors gathering underneath and maneuvering his war chariot to approach the other. That man was a human. At first glance, he appeared like a flesh mountain, with the fat in his body bouncing as he moved. The loose garments on his body were precious, but they couldn't cover the fat and flesh of his body. They looked as if they could burst off at any minute. This man had big ears, a round face, and a pair of bizarrely small eyes. If they didn't observe carefully, they couldn't even have seen his eyes. His fat had pressed and deformed his facial features. Gu-he, Xia Xian Yin called him. Shi Yin arched his brows, looking at Gu-he while putting up his guard. Zhu Bo and Sana of the Divine Light hesitated when they saw this plump of flesh. However, they still stepped out and greeted him. Gu-he squinted his small eyes, trying to pull a smile. He nodded to Zhu Bo, talking gently. You guys are all here. It's good then. Zhu Bo and Sana didn't understand a thing. Gu-he looked at Xiaoyin and Yushan, his eyes getting colder. He shouted all of a sudden. Why did you people of the Fiery Rain Star area come here without permission? Who allowed you to cross the border? You've brought more than 10,000 warriors and several battleships. Are you declaring war on our Agate Star area? Hearing him, everybody was startled. The battleships of the Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan were anchored not far from them. They silently moved, sending sharp auras to this area. They were ready to engage in a battle. Xiaoyin and Yushan frowned while exchanging looks, their faces darkening. We came to Agate Star Area because we have an agreement with someone in your star area. We don't have any bad intention towards the Agate Star Area. Yushan hesitated for a while before pitching her cold voice. It has nothing to do with your potion and tool pavilion, right? Is the potion and tool pavilion the owner of the entire Agate Star Area? Do we need your permission to enter the area? The Fiery Rain Star Area and our Agate Star Area don't get along well. Guhi smiled coldly. He snorted, then continued. We used to fight fiercely back in the days. Our Gu family had laid down our lives to withstand one family of the Fiery Rain Star Area. Afterward, the space passage that connected the two star areas was sealed. We do have an unwritten agreement that no party is allowed to trespass the other's territory. Today, you guys have come without any precaution. We can consider it to be your war declaration. Gu family? Shaoan was surprised as he sneered. Ah, turns out it's that Gu family. Haha, that family had been almost exterminated. I didn't expect someone from that family could rise again. Who are you? Guhi had a cold and harsh look. I'm Shaoan. Haha, that year, your Gu family was beaten up by my Shao family. I guess you've heard about your ancestors' humiliation, right? Haha. Shaoan laughed like crazy. Guhi had an extremely cold face while his eyes showed his deep grudge. He gazed at Shaoan for a while and then thundered. We give you half a month to leave this place. Otherwise, we'll consider it as your declaration of war. We will unite to kill all of you. Mr. Guhi, Jubo frowned. They didn't come here to attack the Agate Star Area. They have some other plan. Cut it off. Guhi swung his hand, talking unreasonably. They are from the Fiery Rain Star Area. Anyone who accompanies them will be the Agate Star Area's traitor. I will talk to your Divine Light's master. You guys should help us deal with those aliens, or just step aside. Don't cause trouble to the Divine Light. Jubo changed his face. His cold eyes sparkled, but he didn't talk more. Miao Rong and Xia Xian Yen also frowned. They then discussed quietly, but they didn't give an opinion. The Fighting League and Elder Bettina had a close relationship. However, they didn't like the Great Elder and Second Elder. If they joined this talk, it would lead to an adverse result. Guhi would treat them harsher. Apparently, because Lu was crossed out, Guhi became the overlord of the Potion and Tool Pavilion after the Elder Conference. Guhi and Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan had a close relationship. With the agreement of the three great clans, and the allies in the Divine Light and the other strong forces, Guhi could be arrogant, because his time had finally come. Turning one's back on him at this moment wasn't a wise move. However, Guhi didn't dare to declare war that simply. The total warriors of the Potion and Tool Pavilion, Crystal Clan, Fire Clan, and Ice Clan were around 30,000. Although they outnumbered the other, Yushan and Shaoan's force had more ethereal God Realm experts. This fight would relate to the war between two star areas. If it were triggered, with more incipient God Realm experts, the Potion and Tool Pavilion might win. However, it would be a strenuous triumph, as they would lose a lot of experts. After that, they would have to face the anger of the Fiery Rain Star Area when they sent more forces to take revenge. The warriors that Yushan and Shaoan had brought here weren't from the same force. They came from different clans and different forces. It would cause a great trouble indeed. If they were killed here, the war between two star areas, the Agate Star Area and the Fiery Rain Star Area, would explode immediately, clearing up everybody. Although Guhi was haughty, he wasn't impulsive. He didn't dare to act rashly. I just want to know one thing. Does the Potion and Tool Pavilion have the power to decide things in Agate Star Area? Yushan asked coldly. It's not that our Potion and Tool Pavilion can decide the fate of this star area. I've talked to the forces everywhere. Fire Clan, Crystal Clan, Wood Clan, Ice Clan, and Ghost Mark Clan all think that if they let 10,000 warriors of the Fiery Rain Star Area stay in Agate Star Area, they won't be able to sleep well. If you don't want to leave, we will expel you, said Guhi. Did you talk to the Monster Clan, Demon Clan, and Fighting League? Shurian asked all of a sudden, after keeping silent for a long time. Kid, who are you? Guhi's eyes were cold. You are only at the original God Realm. Do you think you have the right to intervene? My first name is Shur, and my last name is Yin." While frowning, Shi Yin said, "I think you've heard of my name before, eh?" Gu He's eyes had a gleam of surprise, which he hid immediately. He then talked with a stiff face. "Never heard of you before. I don't need to talk to you." He looked at Miao Rong and Xia Xian Yin, his face getting less tense. "I've talked to Feng Han. He said he didn't care about anything here. About the monster clan and demon clan. Because of the far distance, I'm still trying to reach to them. I think they would agree with my decision. It's 10,000 people from a strange star area coming to the agate star area. This potential danger's really big. We can't bear the unexpected events, if any. We must expel them." Gu He was determined to shoo them away. Miao Rong and Xia Xian Yin were bewildered. With a begrudging complexion, they didn't say anything. Since Gu He got the authority of the potion and tool pavilion, of course, Feng Han would give him face. He didn't say anything, but it didn't mean he agreed. However, from what Gu He told them, Feng Han had agreed with his operation. The atmosphere became tense. The potion and tool pavilion brought the Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan to this area with massive momentum. They looked as if they would fire up at any moment. Yushan and Shaoan's force wasn't bad. If they had to fight, they wouldn't be afraid. However, it would be tough to return to Fiery Rain Star area. At this moment, the Agate Star area didn't need to face the God Clan's attack, while the Fiery Rain Star area still had to engage in the war. Although Yushan and Shaoan felt irritated, they couldn't afford the possible losses in this area. "You tell me," Yushan turned to Shi Yin all of a sudden, talking begrudgingly, "we arrived here as you promised us. We just want to improve our corps' competence. What we need are talented field commanders like Leona and Benny. If they can come to our Fiery Rain Star area, we can go back now. We must seal the space passage connecting to Fiery Rain Star area." Gu He shouted coldly. "Your Fiery Rain Star area is having a terrible fight with the God Clan. If the God Clan comes here through the space passage connecting your Fiery Rain Star area, it will be a catastrophe to our star area. Thus, when you leave, we will absolutely seal the barrier. We will not have any connection anymore." Hearing Gu He, all the people on the gourd-shaped island had a grimace. Once they sealed the passage between the Fiery Rain Star area and Agate Star area, the connection between the two star areas would be cut off. If Leona and Benny got there, they wouldn't be able to return. Of course, it didn't suit Shi Yan's thought and benefit. In his eyes, the God Clan was the biggest enemy. The Agate Star area should join hands with the Fiery Rain Star area to resist the God Clan. The Fiery Rain Star area had many experiences and information about the God Clan, so they could help figure out how to deal with the enemy. And, at the same time, the Ascot family was fabricating the secret treasure to clear the space passage connecting to Agate Star area. Once they got it done, the Agate Star area would have to face the Ascot family of the God Clan immediately. If they could have this ally from the Fiery Rain Star area, they could exchange information and forces, which was good to both sides. If they fought alone, they would be smashed, and their star areas would be occupied. Shi Yan's face was getting colder. He lifted his head to look at Gu He of the Potion and Tool Pavilion. "It's me who gave Fu Wei the Potion and Tool Pavilion's cannon. According to the rules, Fu Wei's the official master of your pavilion. You're just an elder. Do you think you can stand here and bluster?" Chapter 1085, Soul Incantations. Chapter 1085, Soul Incantations _ Yushan, Shaoan, Miao Rong, and Zhu Bo were astounded, their eyes strange. Everybody here was heavy-hearted because of Gu He. As they had to think for the welfare of the forces behind them, they didn't dare to confront Gu He directly. Because Gu He represented the Potion and Tool Pavilion. Shi Yin was indifferent. He didn't care about the superb position of Potion and Tool Pavilion in Agate Star area. He directly questioned the dubiety of Gu He and his power. Gu He paled. Some warriors with profound realms and cultivation bases behind him were filled with rage and murderous intentions. One of them was at Second Sky of Incipient God Realm, a hidden consecrator of Potion and Tool Pavilion whose name was Eno. This expert cultivated soul incantations. Eno frowned, his eyes suddenly as dark as the bottomless abyss. He gazed at Shi Yin, a strange, malicious soul energy that could pull the soul altar out of the body immediately fastened to Shi Yan's soul, trying to pull his soul out of his body. Yu Shan and Shaoan discolored. Xia Xian Yin and Zi Yao turned cold. Slow down. A clear but cold voice arose. Layers of magical energy rippled. Time suddenly slowed down. The operating rules of everything were forced to change. The spiritual energy of the soul-cursing technique casted by Ino was also affected. The energy that tied Shi Yan's soul became slow and powerless. The pulling force applied to Shi Yan's soul was reduced massively. Ino had a handsome face. He didn't look old, but his eyes were deep and archaic, hiding some unknown magic. His handsome face twitched and changed gloomily. Green light dots flew out like the ignis fatuus from his eyes. A soul curse was released from his eyes, and it hit the targeted soul hard. Boom! Xia Xian Yan's brain was shaken hard as if she had gotten hit by lightning. Her sea of consciousness blasted and shattered. She couldn't gather her soul consciousness again. She paled while her soft body shook badly. The god power of her body was running out. Her time power Upanishad dissolved. Ino's soul incantation continued to tie Shi Yan's soul and attempted to pull it out. Shaoan and Yu Shan had cold faces as they took action. A sea of fire seethed in the void. Shortly after, it covered this area. Inside the sea, thunderbolts moved like winding dragons that vented out their anger. The soul incantation that Ino had cast was burned. Its energy was consumed by the fire, and its will was smashed by the thunderbolt. It dissolved instantaneously. Ino's beautiful face was colder. He couldn't help but snort. He didn't attack the second time, and turned to see Gu He. Gu He shook his head slightly, his small eyes deceitful and malignant. Fu Wei violated the regulation of Potion and Tool Pavilion. She's forced to face the wall and reflect on her mistakes. The elders of Potion and Tool Pavilion had discussed, and we all agreed that she doesn't have the right to keep the cannon. We don't have any other option around. I will now keep it. Gu He scanned the crowd and spoke arrogantly. This is our internal matter. I can't tell you the details. You just need to know one thing. I have full authority to represent Potion and Tool Pavilion. After that, he didn't care about Shi Yin anymore, so he didn't give him an explanation for Ino's attack. He swung his hand impatiently. We'll give you time to prepare. Please leave. Otherwise, when your time is up and you're still here, we won't be polite anymore. Shi Yin now had cold and harsh eyes. He touched his forehead. Death energy was released, which cleared the remnant of the soul incantation in his brain. Turning around, he walked to Xia Xian Yin and asked with great care, "Are you all right?" Xia Xian Yin smiled and lifted her head to look at Ino standing by Gu He. She lowered her voice. "He didn't dare to harm me." Shi Yan's face was malicious. He nodded and then lifted his face. "I found the cannon. I handed it to Fu Wei of Potion and Tool Pavilion. I feel so annoyed today. I want to take it back. Return the cannon to me." Gu He's eyes were scornful. He stooped and glanced with disdain. The cannon belongs to Potion and Tool Pavilion. No matter where it has drifted to, it's a halidom of us. No matter who gets it, it still belongs to Potion and Tool Pavilion. Moreover, Elder Fu Wei had paid fully for the cannon. According to our Potion and Tool Pavilion's business regulations, our deal was closed. The cannon has nothing to do with you now. You won't hand it back to me? Shi Yin pondered for a while. I'll take it myself. Crack, crack. A faint blue ring on his fat middle finger sounded with a crunch. The surface of the ring cracked. Something wiggled out of the ring directly and shot away. A thin slit appeared, and that object swayed into that slit before it closed shortly afterward. Gu He and the other warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion grimaced. They all looked at Shi Yin hostilely. The murderous intention in their eyes couldn't be hidden. Well, I have a good habit. Shi Yin looked innocently. When I deliver anything precious, I always attach a restriction. Especially such things like this cannon. I have to be more cautious. Before Shi Yin knew the cannon's identity, he had seen its magical features. As a routine, he had left a wisp of his soul consciousness with space power. That way, he could use space power Upanishad to track the thing down. Fu Wei didn't know that because she didn't check the status of the cannon. He thought that he would never have a chance to use that restriction. It turned out the changing situation made him do so. Fu Wei was currently grounded. He didn't expect that the cannon would fall into a cunning person like Gu He. He didn't believe that Fu Wei would violate rules. Everything Fu Wei had done, she did it for Agate Star Area to eliminate the traitor of Potion and Tool Pavilion. She didn't do anything that made her ashamed. Shi Yin understood that Fu Wei was tricked. Gu He had set her up for something or made up a false accusation. In short, Shi Yin knew that it was Gu He who was behind all these things. If Fu Wei kept the cannon, he wouldn't say anything. However, as Gu He controlled Potion and Tool Pavilion now, of course, Shi Yin couldn't just defend without attacking. You dared to do something on the cannon of our Potion and Tool Pavilion. Gu He twisted his face. His layers of fat rattled, which made him look like a giant maggot. Swish! The corner of Shi Yan's eyes had a slit. He rose his hand to grab the void, and the cannon was now in his hand. If you want to take the cannon back, tell Fu Wei to meet me. You don't deserve to keep this thing. Shi Yin spoke curtly and impolitely. He nodded to Fei Lan and Ka Tua behind him. Go to Devil Bloodstar and call Precursor Blood Devil. I want to see if Gu He can control everything in Agate Star Area. Fei Lan and Ka Tua nodded quietly. Their figures flashed and disappeared in the child formation. Thousands of Fiery Rain Star Area warriors with Xiao In and Yushan gathered around the child formation. Even if Gu He wanted to stop them, he couldn't do anything. He could only see Fei Lan and Ka Tua leave. Kid, you've interfered with Potion and Tool Pavilion's internal issue. You have taken our cannon. Your sins can't be forgiven. Gu He took a deep breath and nodded to Ino and then shouted, Kill him for me. Ino's deep and dark eyes had a strange light. The corners of his mouth moved as he was about to cast the soul incantation. Xiao In and Yushan snorted. They swayed and stopped by Shi Yin. They all looked at Gu He and Ino with cold, malicious eyes. Do you really want to fight with our Agate Star Area? Gu He shouted with a cold complexion. You can't stand for the entire Agate Star Area. You can't represent Potion and Tool Pavilion, either. You can speak on behalf of yourself only. Shi Yin sneered. It's true that the Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan have sent their soldiers to cooperate with you, but I don't think the three big forces would bet the future of their entire clan on you, Gu He. The Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan in Agate Star Area were all mighty clans, especially the Fire Clan as it could resist the Monster Clan and Demon Clan. It was the strongest force. Ice Clan and Crystal Clan were a little weaker, but not by much. If the three clans followed Gu He, it would be very difficult. It was too bad that the Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan didn't send any elders to this operation. As they didn't send any strong warriors with high positions here, it meant that they weren't dependent on Gu He. It was just a cooperative activity between them. It was just a collaborative relationship. Of course, they wouldn't risk their lives under the circumstance that they couldn't have any profits. Thus, Shi Yin didn't believe that the Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan would risk their lives with Yushan and Xiaoin for Gu He. Indeed, Gu He grimaced more upon hearing Shi Yin. Ino took action again. This time, he was still discreet. Shi Yin stood still, holding a blood broadsword in his hand. The blood eyes on the sword started to wiggle. Blood beamed across the sword, spreading like gossamers and covering Shi Yan's shortly. Some kind of energy that could seal the soul, sea of consciousness and the soul altar was released from Shi Yin. However, Yushan and Si couldn't sense anything. Although Ino had mastered the soul incantation and he had released many deadly curses, he couldn't block Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. They could only float around his body, but they couldn't find the entrance. Divine weapon. Ino discolored. He gazed at the blood broadsword that Shi Yin was holding in his hand. His dark eyes changed strangely while he was casting his secret incantation. He wanted to affect the energy of the blood sword. Boom! A brutal, evil energy shot out from the blood sword. It was like an immense blood sea attacking his soul. Ino's deep eyes had a gleam of fear. He also looked aghast. The strange eyes on the blood sword opened. The blood beams had locked Ino from a distance. The sword was like a ferocious monster that was accumulating energy to storm over Ino. Ino's consciousness was hazy. He hastened to stop his incantation and tried to steady his sea of consciousness and soul altar. His face grimaced. Rolls of fat on Guhi's face shivered as he was scared. He studied Yin. He had heard of the name Yin earlier. In Potion and Tool Pavilion's Elder Conference, this name was spoken together with Bath, Gute of the Monster Clan, and Blood Devil of the Demon Clan. It was mentioned more times than even Bath and Gute. Being the second elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion, how could he not know about Yin? However, he had underestimated Yin's abilities. Holding the blood sword, Yin's eyes were as scarlet as blood. His appearance was extremely cold and harsh. He indifferently looked at Ino and Guhi and didn't say a thing. He was waiting. He was waiting for experts of the Monster Clan and Demon Clan. It would be more favorable for him when they came. Xiao-In and Yushan were so astounded to look at the evil deeds he was using. They stood on his left and right and were ready to protect him. They knew that when the experts of the Monster Clan and Demon Clan arrived, the wind on this cloud sea star would change. Chapter 1086, The Fate Traveler. Chapter 1086, The Fate Traveler under Sir. Ino's eyes were cold and blurry like ice while he was controlling his wisps of soul consciousness, which moved like invisible spiritual snakes. They all aimed at Yin. However, the soul incantation he had cast was going to deviate if they aimed at Yin. Without Yin's soul energy waves to detect, his curses couldn't perform. Yin held the blood sword in his hand while the blood beams spread all over his body and created a thick blood cocoon that covered his body. Nothing could intrude. The soul secret techniques couldn't lock him, so the incantation couldn't work anymore. Ino was so irritated, and he wanted to vomit blood. This was the first time he had ever encountered a bizarre situation like this along his path of cultivating soul incantations. He knew that the blood sword Yin was holding was strange and evil, indeed. He also knew the reason why his secret curses couldn't work. It was because of that blood sword. However, as Yushan and Xiaowen were watching cautiously, he couldn't storm over to snatch that blood sword. Apparently, he couldn't use the secret techniques to kill Yin. The fat on Guhi's face shivered. His small eyes flared with ferocious light and gazed at Yin with deep resentment. His Gu family and the Xiao family of Fiery Rain Star area had a bloody grudge. Since Guhi was just a small child, he had listened to the teachings of his ancestor. He must make Xiaowen's family pay a big price. Thus, Guhi hated anyone who came from Fiery Rain Star area. This time, it was coincidental that Xiaowen was in this group. Guhi wouldn't let this chance slip away. Yin. Xia Xian Yin and Zi Yao called him with worried faces. They hurried to approach him to check his situation. Staying inside the fine blood fibers, Yin looked cold. He squinted and shook his head to tell Ziyao and Xia Xian Yin not to worry about him. This man robbed Potion and Tool Pavilion's cannon. Do you outsiders want to interfere in the internal issues of our Potion and Tool Pavilion? Guhi's face was cold, but he couldn't hold his flame of anger anymore. He glared at Yushan and spoke. If you mean it, don't blame Potion and Tool Pavilion for not showing mercy. Guhi's mentality was almost cracked. Yushan and Xiaowen could recognize Guhi's mental state. They frowned quietly. They were also anxious as they continued to turn around to check the child formation. They hoped that the experts of the Monster Clan and Demon Clan could come here soon. Guhi took a deep breath. He seemed to have made up his mind. He swung his hand as he'd prepared to start this battle, his face cold and harsh. However, his big mouth parted as if he was about to talk, but he couldn't make a sound. Guhi's big face winced and piled up the rolls of fat. His eyes were aghast. He looked really awkward. Many warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion surrounding the area were bewildered. They looked at him confused as they didn't know why he couldn't make a sound although he was obviously shouting. Guhi started to sweat. His face slowly paled. His column-like, big neck wiggled as if he was searching for something. Warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion, Divine Light, Fighting League, and Fiery Rain Star area were dumbstruck. They also followed his line of sight to see what was going on. Guhi suddenly stopped. He looked in a direction. It was where Shi Yin was standing. The eyes of dozens of thousands of warriors were now gazing at one spot, which was next to Shi Yin. No one knew for how long there was a white-headed, archaic old man standing next to Shi Yin. That old man wore a silver robe. His brows were long and white like mist. His eyes were filled with a smile, and his face was especially smooth as it was like white jade. It seemed like he was still pretty young. He was holding a scepter, which looked like a branch of an old, dead tree. The wooden material of his scepter was strange. It could release the energy waves of life. The arms of the old man had many magical wooden textures. Those textures were strange and wonderful. However, they looked exactly the same as the texture of his scepter, which seemed to contain some principles of this world. This old man was a member of the Wood Clan. Holding the scepter, the old man was smiling while studying Shi Yin. Sometimes, he touched the blood-fine fibers on his body and gave profuse praises. At this moment, the numbers of experts on the gourd-shaped island were as many as clusters of cloud in the sky, which included more than 10 first sky and second sky of incipient God Realm experts. However, before He spotted the archaic man, no one had recognized the old man was there. Everybody was astounded as they could never have imagined something like this. They all looked at the white-haired wood oldie. The oldie ignored all of them. He was still studying Shi Yin with great curiosity. His pair of eyes was full of childhood interest and warmth. He didn't have any malicious intent. However, under his gaze, Shi Yin felt very irritated. It felt like the old man could read all that he had experienced in his life easily. The eyes of that old man seemed to be able to see through people's hearts and all of their experiences they had in their whole life. From a distance, He looked at them. In his rice-sized eyes, he seemed to be begging as if he couldn't even talk without permission from that old man. Standing by Shi Yin, Yushan and Xiaoyin were so solemn looking at the old man. They exchanged looks as they could grasp the fear in each other's eyes. All of a sudden, Yushan and Xiaoyin bent their bodies to greet and say, "Precursor." Then, they stood with their bodies bending and didn't say more. Miao Rong of the Fighting League and Zhu Bo of the Divine Light studied the old man and tried to find information of him in their brains. Shortly after, Zhu Bo shivered, divine light shooting out of his eyes. His eyes were glued to the wooden scepter in the old man's hand. He muttered, "It's made of the life tree of the Wood Clan, a precursor of the Wood Clan, Shangchun, great sage Shangchun." His voice was so low that the others around couldn't hear. Only Sana heard him. Sana was skeptical and lowered his voice. "Who is he?" "Fate, the Fate Traveler." Zhu Bo forced a smile. Sana discolored in fright. He was still begging, looking at the wood old man. Shi Yin pulled himself together. He suddenly found that Ino's soul incantation was cleared while he didn't recognize it. He looked at Ino, who was wincing with trickles of blood on the corners of his mouth. He looked hurt and was begging. He was baffled and couldn't help but look at the wood old man next to him. Frowning, Shi Yin said, "May I ask what you want, precursor?" The wood old man smiled, his left eye blinking. Instantaneously, He who was fixed over there was able to stammer, "Great sage. Why are you here?" "Great sage?" Many people looked bewildered. They looked at the wood old man and tried to identify him. Miao Rong of Fighting League was shocked. Dazzling light shot out from his eyes. When he looked at the old man again, his face was filled with respect. He bent his body slightly to show his respect for a junior and didn't say more. "I'm here to save your life." The wood old man shook his head, looked at He and sighed. "Your family has declined for several thousand years. Until your generation, no one made a raise. Why do you want to find trouble for yourself? Do you really want your family to be uprooted?" Listening to him, He's face turned gray like the earth. However, he bought it. Just like a primary student asking for his teacher's advice, he said, "Great sage, please explain to me." "Okay." The wood old man smiled and pointed at Shi Yin, his voice slow and tender. "If I didn't come, here's what would have happened. You guys would fight with the warriors of Fiery Rain Star Area. Fiery Rain Star Area would fail. However, when the Monster Clan and Demon Clan comes, both of you would have gotten huge losses. Then, the people of Fiery Rain Star area would have left. You guys would also expel this young man to Fiery Rain Star area. However, in 100 years max, he would return. He would eradicate your Gu family. You, Gu He, would be killed too. The old man spoke casually, but many people didn't believe him. They thought he just spoke nonsense. However, second elder Gu He of the Potion and Tool Pavilion felt like he had just fallen into an ice chamber. He saw his death in advance. He paled and shook uncontrollably. He just stood there, shivering with an extreme fear. He had no doubt of what the old man had just told him. When he saw Shi Yin again, Gu He was panic-stricken. He looked both crazy and perplexed. "Oh, I can add one more thing," the wood old man sighed. "If you started this battle, Fiery Rain Star area and Agate Star area would be involved. The Star War would happen, and the God Clan could invade Agate Star area and Fiery Rain Star area in 200 or 300 years. He pointed at Miao Rong, Ju Bo, Yushan, Shaoin, and Eno. He spoke nonchalantly. All of you would have died in the battles. Those people under his finger felt their souls shudder. They were so frightened as they could foresee their future. You say it as if they're all true. Shi Yin smiled oddly. It's really bad that you're not a hoax medium. Oh no, I'm the biggest hoax medium in Agate Star area. The old man grinned. His makings relaxed. But many people believe in this hoax medium, because what I've told you could be your future. Great sage, I'm wrong. The second elder changed his visage and bowed deeply. He acted repentantly and earnestly. Everybody was stunned. Sigh. If it's not related to the fate of the 2-star areas, I don't need to spend my efforts to calculate and make people skeptical. The wood old man shook his head. The wooden scepter in his hand released extreme energy waves that could affect people's souls and gave them a hallucination that made their souls collapse. Shi Yin wasn't an exception. Yushan and Shaoin discolored in fright. Please advise us your status and title? Shaoin hesitated for a while before asking with respect. I'm Shangchun, said the wood old man faintly. Shangchun, Shangchun, you are the fate traveler who cultivates fate power Upanishad? You've been to our Fiery Rain Star area, right? Shaoin was suddenly excited. He asked with his arms swinging, I know you. The secret books of the Shao family mentioned you many times. I've traveled through many star areas, not only your Fiery Rain Star area. Shangchun smiled. Oh, right? I used to drink with Xiao Zhan. Xiao Zhan was Shaoin's grandfather. However, he had fallen in the battle with the God Clan. Shangchun's profile in the books of the Shao family was written by Xiao Zhan. Oh, turns out it's you, Precursor Shang. Shaoin was happy. He showed more respect. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. While Shaoin was thrilled, the child formation behind him activated. Beautiful halos expanded. The experts of the Monster Clan and Demon Clan emerged with Bath, Gute, and Blood Devil as the leaders. The three of them were full of murderous auras and ferocious faces. They came for a bloody battle. More and more monster and demon experts came unceasingly. Gu He discolored. He glanced at Shangchun, his face modest. He just stood quietly and didn't dare to pitch his voice to ask for a battle anymore. Chapter 1087, Great Sage. Chapter 1087, Great Sage _ Blood Devil, Gute, and Bath were annoyed because Leona wanted to leave. When Phelan and Ka Tuo told them the situation where Gu He of Potion and Tool Pavilion wanted to attack Shi Yin, they grumbled and came like thunder. Warriors of the Monster Clan and Demon Clan all wore heavy armor with fearsome iron helmets. Their murderous auras shot out like sharp tips. When hundreds of monster and demon warriors lined up neatly, a flow of bloodthirsty aura gushed out like an overflowing river. There was no emotion on Leona's daunting face. She looked cold and harsh, her eyes radiating a dark halo. After those monster and demon warriors had undergone her training, they seemed to be dyed with blood. This kind of thick blood sent nauseated people. The warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion faced the soldiers behind Leona with fear. Blood Devil, Gute, and Bath stood arrogantly in the front. Standing behind him were some first sky of incipient God Realm experts. They were all heroes of monster and demon clans. Their auras were like the rainbow, their energies fierce and abundant. It wasn't like when the Had entered Shadow Ghostly Prison where only Blood Devil, Bath, and Gute were incipient God Realm expert. Of course, back then, there were only 3 incipient God Realm experts of Monster Clan and Demon Clan. Since they had other important roles, they didn't join the trip to Shadow Ghostly Prison. It was different today. When they knew Potion and Tool Pavilion had taken the Fire Clan, Ice Clan, and Crystal Clan to this place with around 30,000 warriors, Blood Devil and the others had to mobilize the experts of their clans. There were 9 incipient God Realm experts from Monster Clan and Demon Clan, including Blood Devil and the other 2, and more than 10 experts at Ethereal God Realm. Although there were just several hundred warriors who came here this time, they were all from the elite force. What happened? Blood Devil's voice was like a bronze bell that rang. He coldly glared at Gu He. Congratulations, Second Elder, for your higher position. However, Potion and Tool Pavilion has never interfered in any important matter of Agate Star area. After you hold the office, you want to break the rules immediately, don't you? Usually, Potion and Tool Pavilion would never participate in any dispute of Agate Star area. However, they often affected the forces discreetly in the shadows. Everyone knew that. Guhi took the Ice Clan, Fire Clan, and Crystal Clan here, which meant that they had to sweep off the outsiders from Agate Star area. However, they had broken the rules of Potion and Tool Pavilion. As Blood Devil came, he immediately asked Gu He without trying to be nice or polite. Gu He furrowed his brows. He begrudgingly looked at Shang Chun and didn't say much. What Shang Chun said had shaken him hard. He was threatened. Gu He couldn't help but glance at Shi Yin, his face grimacing more. He knew that at his position, Shang Chun wouldn't deceive him. What Shang Chun said was all the truth. If he started a war here, his Gu family would be uprooted. He would be killed too. The young man in front of him would be the originator. Gu He was so worried. Blood Devil, Shang Chun called him quietly. Blood Devil, Gu Te, and Bath heard his voice. They were surprised and their bodies shook. They immediately greeted him solemnly. Great sage. They seemed to know Shang Chun better than Gu He. At first glance, they knew Shang Chun's identity. They immediately showed him their respect. This dispute ends here. Don't extend it further. Shang Chun sighed and then added, if you don't want to see Fiery Rain Star Area and Agate Star Area fall into the God Clan's control, you must calm down now. While talking, Shang Chun looked really tired. It seemed like talking was also strenuous for him at this moment. A wisp of blood mist silently diffused from Shang Chun's god body. His abundant qi drained quickly. He did not look good at all. His face gradually paled. It seemed like an invisible hand was destroying his mind and body at the same time. He could freeze Gu He and hurt Ino in just a blink, and no one could recognize his attack. However, he currently didn't have a beam of power to resist. He could only stand and bear the pain. Shang Chun coughed terribly. A trickle of dark blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. He smiled sadly. Lifting his head to look at the immense horizon, he shivered. Everybody was frightened. They looked at him, but they didn't know what was happening to him. The ones who could understand the situation had bitter eyes, while they felt many waves rising in their hearts. Blood Devil was shaken. He walked to Shang Chun and prepared to use the immortal demon blood to heal the old man. It's useless. Shang Chun waved his hand to stop Blood Devil, beaming a forced smile. It's the price that I have to pay. Otherwise, I can't see that spider web of fate or the path to walk. Pausing for a while, he tried to look excited. Don't worry. I'm all right. I've risked my life to stop your battle. I hope you will listen to what I've told you today. Gu He, Shaoyin, Yushan, Blood Devil, and the others looked at him and nodded. No one dared to protest. Don't fight. Give up the racism. Give up family hatreds and resentment. Let go of the dispute between the 2 star areas. Shang Chun looked and talked to them. The barrier between Agate Star Area and Ancient God Star Area will be forcefully torn in 10 years max. When that happens, the great army of God Clan will invade you. I hope you will be well prepared in 10 years. Improve the competencies of everyone to the utmost. If you can't defeat the God Clan, you will be killed. You will be enslaved. all warriors of Agate Star Area, Blood Devil, Bath, Gute, Gu He, Eno, Miao Rong, Jubu, and even the warriors at Incipient God Realm had ashen faces. No one doubted Shang-Chun. Everybody stooped and felt heavy-hearted. Shang-Chun looked at Yushan and Xiao-In. It's the right move that you came to find Leona to train your soldiers. In this vast universe, the ones who could face the God Clan are only members of the Bloodthirsty's bloodline. You will have only 7 or 8 years before the massive operation of the God Clan. They will attack Fiery Rain's Star Area with their best power. If you can win in that battle, Fiery Rain's Star Area won't need to worry about the God Clan for a long time. You need to hurry and try your best to prepare for that coming battle. Xiao-In and Yushan were frightened. They nodded. They believed what Shang-Chun had just told them. Shang-Chun coughed, his line of sight falling on Shi-Yin. I was asked to be here. I want to take you to someplace. Follow me. Who asked you to come to see me? Shi-Yin was surprised. Shang-Chun grinned and didn't explain. For rings suddenly flew out of his sleeve and flew toward Fei Lan, Leona, Ka Tua, and Benny respectively. Someone asked me to deliver those rings to you guys. They are pretty useful to your realm and power. I wish for you to reach the perfect state in the future. He looked at Shi-Yin and said, you don't need to take care of them for a while. They have their own destinies. Fei Lan, Leona, Ka Tua, and Benny received the rings. They sensed for a while. Seconds later, their eyes brightened and their faces were happy. Apparently, what the rings stored was extremely suitable for them. You too? Shang-Chun regarded Fei Lan and Leona and smiled. The ones you want to find have escaped adversity. You don't need to worry about them. They're doing well, though. You will meet them soon. Fei Lan and Leona were very happy. Fei Lan's man and Leona's father had left Raging Flame Star Area a long time ago. They didn't receive any message from them for such a long time. After they had arrived in Agate Star Area, they knew that the ones they wanted to find used to be confined by the Dark Shadow Clan. However, after leaving the space passage, they didn't find anything. The two of them were disappointed and worried. Today, hearing Shang-Chun, the two of them had finally eased their minds. They were even happier than receiving the rings. They both said thanks to Shang-Chun. Benny and Ka Tua also bowed to him with sincere faces. No need to thank me. Shang-Chun shook his head. It's I who owes you. He immediately turned to Shi-Yin and said, you don't need to worry about them. Come with me. Hurry up. To where? I will tell you on the way. All right. Shi-Yin simply confirmed with Shang-Chun. You gave Potion and Tool Pavilion's cannon to Gu He, said Shang-Chun all of a sudden. Give it to Gu He? Shi-Yin shook his head and smiled coldly. He doesn't deserve it. It was to Fu Wei. The cannon is destined for her. Today, among the elders of Potion and Tool Pavilion, only Fu Wei has the capacity to decode the mysteries of the cannon. Shang-Chun looked at Gu He and pondered. Fu Wei is the future of Potion and Tool Pavilion. If she can't decipher the cannon's mysteries, you will follow the trail of the former pavilion masters. Only if Fu Wei can break the mysteries of the cannon can you escape your fatal destiny. Gu He paled. The former pavilion masters had forged weapons or refined pellets until they had fallen into bedevilment, shattered their bodies, and left only a dying wisp of a soul. They couldn't stand for a long time, though. It seemed to be related to many secrets in the refining of Potion and Tool Pavilion. Lower realm blacksmiths and alchemists wouldn't meet such a bottleneck. However, when they reach a particular level, they would eventually fall into such a destiny. The previous pavilion masters and the oldest elders of the pavilion had disappeared like that. Gu He took a deep breath and said with a dispirited face, I understood. It's good that you've understood. Shang-Chun nodded. I just want the best for you. I want you to live longer. Remember to give the cannon to Fu Wei. Otherwise, you will die eventually. Shang-Chun looked at Shi-Yin and said, give it to him. We are in a hurry. We don't have much time to waste here. Your great-grandpa is waiting for you to rescue him. My great-grandpa? Shi-Yin discolored in fright. How is he? He's too extreme. He has a problem. I've confined him for the time being. The situation is serious. Shang-Chun sighed. We should talk on the way. Shi Yin didn't hesitate anymore. He snorted at Gu He and threw him the cannon. If you still have the cannon the next time I see you, I will take it for the second time. Well, I will take your life with it too. Gu He discolored. He didn't dare to open his mouth and talk. He just grabbed the cannon with a wince. After he had listened to Shang Qin's prophecy saying that he would die by Shi Yan's hand if he fought him, Gu He was wary of Shi Yan unknowingly. Facing him, Gu He couldn't help but be restlessly anxious. Chapter 1088. Soul-Rotting Aphids. Chapter 1088. Soul-Rotting Aphids _ Shang Qin rushed away. He was here for about 1 hour before he departed. However, in 1 hour, most of the experts of Agate Star Area and Fiery Rain Star Area seemed to be under his spell. They had made up their mind to stop the potential battle from happening. Quickly, all the warriors in that place scattered. Gu He took the cannon and drove his battleships away. Warriors of the Ice Clan, Fire Clan, and Crystal Clan left with him. Zhu Bo, Sana, and Zi Yao of the Divine Light discussed for a while and then decided to return to Divine Light's headquarters. They had to start preparing for the fierce war that would come in the future. Blood Devil, Yushan, and Shaoan discussed with the warriors of Fiery Rain Star Area for a while to outline their plans. Leona would arrange and help the Monster Clan, Demon Clan, and Fiery Rain Star Area train their soldiers. Yushan and Shaoan really liked Benny, so they asked Benny to help Fiery Rain Star Area soldiers in training to prepare for the Great War in the future. Shang Qin's words were vague and seemed to be far ahead. However, no one dared to doubt him. They deemed his words as the truth and the basis for their plans and strategies. The Fate Traveler, Shang Qin, stood as the mysterious prophet who had operated for many years in Agate Star Area. None of his prophecies were wrong. Rumors said that when Shang Qin was just a little boy, he could vaguely see the past and future of people. For a long time, Shang Qin had earned a living as a fortune teller. One day, he could all of a sudden predict the future. Gradually, he had become famous and got the wonderful power Upanishad to understand fate. Several thousand years had passed and the name of Shang Qin had been spread out between the top strong forces. Experts who knew his talents would consider him the life coach to consult. Shang Qin didn't fail them. He had solved many disasters that could have eradicated the entire Agate Star Area. He had kept Agate Star Area safe through many perilous periods. Because of Shang Qin, the blood war to come had to stop before it actually took place. Gu He left with the warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion. Forces of the Divine Light and Fighting League also left the planet. Afterward, Blood Devil, Bath, and Gute also returned to their places through the Child Formation. Leona stayed in Cloud Sea Star. Together with Benny, they helped Fiery Rain Star Area experts train their troops. Cloud Sea Star resumed its tranquility. Inside the deep and dark sea of stars, two figures flashed and disappeared like meteors. They had left Shadow Ghostly Prison and went pretty far. In Agate Galaxy, they traveled like two shuttles. The space nodes around them had fierce commotions as they continually swayed through the spaces. They disappeared shortly after into a space slit and reappeared in another area. Today, the two of them arrived at the edge of Agate Star Area, an area of floating, dead stars. They landed on a desolate, dead star with many rough caves. This dead star had no earth and heaven energy or living being energy waves. It was so cold and quiet. Swoosh! Shi Yin landed on the ground and was sweating. Are we there yet? You always urge me to use the space power Upanishad to go through the space nodes and teleport on a small scale, but you didn't tell me about the situation yet. Did you know that moving continually like that will consume my soul energy by a lot? Apparently, his condition wasn't good. After they had left Cloud Sea Star, Shang Qin continually urged him and showed him the direction so he could use the space power Upanishad to teleport. Shi Yin had to consume his energy constantly. After many times, he was almost exhausted. Currently, he had consumed 70% or even 80% energy in this body. Each time he teleported, he could cross several life stars, which was around billions of miles. If he hadn't reached ethereal God realm, he would be exhausted already. During this journey, Shang Qin didn't say a word. He wore a heavy-hearted face and pondered. He didn't react to Shi Yan's question, which made Shi Yan more suspicious. Shi Yan burst out eventually. Shang Chen still had a solemn countenance, but his eyes were much better. He suddenly smiled and turned his head to see Shi Yan. I found the right one, indeed. With first sky of ethereal god realm cultivation base, you could teleport 11 times. Each time, we are traveling billions of miles. The power you have in your body is really extraordinary. I gave up everything to go with you. I'm not here to listen to your compliments. Shi Yan was hurried. How is my great-grandfather? Shang Chen pondered for a while and then said, You should see it first. A light blue halo expanded from his palm and rippled like water waves. Slowly, it projected some images. A massive blue ice crystal emerged. This crystal was blurry and sparkling with a chill-to-the-bone cold air. It confined a tall and thin body. That person seemed to have his body's functions and soul confined and frozen. That's my great-grandpa, Shi Yan hissed coldly. Take a closer look. Shang Chen sighed. The blue light in his palm changed again. The blue crystal zoomed bigger. Yang Tian Emperor was inside the ice crystal, and it became clearer. Shi Yan could see that his entire body was bleeding with many cuts. He looked like a person when a beast had used its claws to scratch him. Some scratches were so deep that Shi Yan could even see his bones. It was because of the distance and the ice crystal that Shi Yan didn't recognize his situation at first glance. At this moment, Yang Tian Emperor's god body was magnified several times. Shi Yan could see the wounds stretch over his body like many deep ditches that even reached his skeleton. There were hundreds of scratches expanding and crossing each other all over his body. Shi Yan's face looked like he had a layer of frost covering it. However, his voice was extremely calm. Who did that? Shang Chen maintained his hand's position. He looked at him naturally and calmly. He did that to himself? Shi Yan trembled. The murderous aura in Shi Yan's eyes was like an evil dragon turning its body. He did that? You're telling me that he did that to himself? Heavy murderous aura. Shang Chen was shaken. He knitted his brows and sighed. He's worth being the heir of that bloodline. It's true that he did that to himself. You keep watching. Shang Chen spurted a silver electric beam that seeped into the image in front of them. He magnified Yang Tian Emperor's image several times. Now, Yang Tian Emperor looked like a giant who could shade the entire sky with his mountain-like body. Inside his deep eyes were strange lights. Shi Yan could feel some strange but fierce energy fluctuations in his brain. Shi Yan suddenly closed his eyes. A wisp of soul consciousness flew out and tried to sense something. After a while, he was shaken. He opened his eyes, which were filled with fear. What are those tiny creatures in his soul altar and in his brains? He could feel clearly hundreds of thousands of little creatures inside Yang Tian Emperor's brain and soul altar. Those creatures were very small, so he could only sense them with his soul. However, they were so evil and strange with cold qi and were filling Yang Tian Emperor's head. Shang Chen balled his fingers into a fist. Yang Tian Emperor's image disappeared. Yang Tian Emperor has been in evil north zone of Agate Star area for many years. He received the profound inheritance of the Despair Power Upanishad. He consistently challenged the local experts. In that way, he increased his realm and power stably and rapidly. Every time, he always challenged the expert whose realm higher was than his. He defeated them in the end. It was the mystery and yet essential feature of Despair Power Upanishad. He has comprehended its essence. The last expert he had challenged in the North Zone had a rare evil treasure, which contained a significant amount of those creatures. Before he died, he had released them to erode Yang Tian Emperor's body and soul. He immediately fell into a bedevilment status. He lost control of his soul and consciousness. He crazily scratched his body like that. He had almost destroyed his god body. This creature is called soul-rotting aphis. It's a kind of micro-demonic insect. Those aphids can gnaw the brain and reproduce. They can invade people's thoughts and distort the sea of consciousness and soul altar. They will make people crazy and lose themselves. Pausing for a while, Shang Chen continued, Yang Tian Emperor has the soul-rotting Aphis in his brain. He lost his mind shortly after. He has fallen into bedevilment. He has destroyed his body. I've used the blue ice crystal of the extremely cold north zone to stop him and the aphids in his brain. In that confinement, we can preserve him well. I can use heaven flames to refine those insects or worms, said Shi Yin. Shangchen shook his head and said casually, we can't use that method. Heaven flames could burn the soul-rotting aphids, but they could also burn Yang Tian Emperor's soul. Those demonic insects have blended with his soul consciousness and brain. At this moment, they are one. If you burn the soul-rotting aphids, Yang Tian Emperor would be killed too. Listening to him, Shi Yin frowned. Do you have any method? Of course, I have a method. Shangchen nodded. We need you to do that. Follow me first. When we get there, I will tell you the details. Shangchen touched the ground under his feet. A strange noise echoed from deep inside the ground of this barren, dead star. It seemed like he had just activated some mechanism. He nodded to Shi Yin and then plunged down to the dark cave that had just cracked under their feet. He entered the dead star directly. Hesitating for a while, Shi Yin jumped into that cave and entered the dead star. After 15 minutes, Shi Yin saw Shangchen stand on a high triangle tower. That tower was made of empty fantasy crystal. It had so many exquisite and complicated light beams crossing each other. Obviously, it was a magical teleport formation. Underneath the teleport formation were many top-quality divine crystals, which contained an enormous amount of earth and heaven energy. This kind of energy was so thick that it was almost like water. When it rose, it was like the water of a dreamy lake, and it made people feel awed. At a first glance, he knew how complicated this teleport formation was. It was much more exquisite than the child formation that he had refined. Where does it connect? Standing bewildered for a while, Shi Yin asked. We should leave Agate Star area first, smiled Shangchen. This teleport formation could cross star areas? Shi Yin discolored in fright. Shangchen nodded. In our Agate Star area, this is the only profound space teleport formation that can cross the space border. I've been watching this place for so many years. Chapter 1089, Desolate. Chapter 1089, Desolate _ In the center of an energy sea that looked more like a lake, dazzling lights shot out, weaving into a complex formation. A fierce wave of energy triggered. Shi Yin and Shangchen glowed like blinding crystals. They disappeared in the brilliant light. Both of their bodies and souls were teleported. They disappeared from this dead star. Boom, boom. Explosions echoed unceasingly inside the dead star. The cave that had been cracked slowly closed. The marvelous space formation didn't have energy waves anymore. The top-quality divine crystals with abundant energy had lost the energy after they were activated. Now, they looked like dull, ordinary stones that were inlaid in the formation. No energy waves anymore. Inside the thick fog, Shangchen and Shi Yin were like two shining beams moving forward. This kind of mist had magical powers, which could separate the soul consciousness. In this area, Shi Yin couldn't sense his surroundings. He felt blind with his eyes open. Obviously, it wasn't the first time Shangchen had come here. In this thick mist, he continually gave Shi Yin direction and guided him to move forward. Did we leave Agate Star area? Shi Yin was baffled. In that great space teleport formation, Shi Yin felt like his soul and body were separated. He felt so dizzy. When he woke up, he found himself in this place. However, he didn't see the same teleport formation here, which made him astounded. Usually, the teleport formation couldn't teleport one way. It required another teleport formation in the destination to connect the route and teleport people or things. However, when he woke up, he saw himself in the thick mist without another teleport formation. He was so surprised. It's true. We aren't in Agate Star area anymore. Shangchen nodded and said, we are in the peripheral area of another star area. It's called Fantasy Mist Star area, which is adjacent to Fiery Rain Star area and Agate Star area. It's not really far from the place we have just left. Shangchen looked ahead of them. his body releasing magical energy fluctuations that could clear the mist in front of them. He focused and didn't say much to Shi Yin. "Why did you take me here?" Shi Yin frowned. "Someone asked me to do so." "Who asked you?" "One of the undying bastards of your bloodthirsty bloodline. I owed him one. I've promised him so today. I fulfilled his wish." "Who is that precursor?" "Frederick," Shang Chun said through his gritted teeth. Shi Yin was baffled. He thought and then shook his head. "I've never heard of him before." Shang Chun turned his head to look at Shi Yin and the blood vein ring on his finger. He spoke faintly. "Hasn't it told you anything?" "Its memory isn't complete," Shi Yin answered honestly. He recognized his intention immediately and asked, "Can you tell me more? The story related to the ring and the descendants of the bloodthirsty bloodline? Can you tell me the secrets you know?" Shang Chun pondered for a while and then shook his head. "I don't know. You'd better wait until the ring gathers its memory fully. It will tell you then. I'm not from your bloodline. I don't know many secrets of yours. If I tell you something, it's just the surface of the matter. I may disturb those bastards' arrangement. It's not going to be okay then." "Those bastards? Who are you referring to?" Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He asked excitedly, "Some precursors of the bloodthirsty bloodline are still alive? How many of them?" He always thought that the precursors of the bloodthirsty bloodline were all dead. The only one who was still alive was the one who cultivated death power Upanishad. But he still didn't have many clues related to that man. Would that Frederick be his name? How could they die easily? Shang Chun pouted his lips, his face awkward. "You've underestimated their tenacious vitalities. Can you tell me which power Upanishad Frederick cultivates?" Shi Yin asked earnestly. Until now, Shi Yin had known 5 out of 8 inheritances of the bloodthirsty bloodline, which included death, erosion, darkness, chaos, and destruction. He didn't know about the other 3. As Shang Chun mentioned them, of course, Shi Yin had to know them. "Frederick is a member of the Corpse Clan." "Of course, he cultivates the corpse power," said Shang Chun casually. Corpse power? Shi Yan's face became odd. Corpse power is one of the great 8 inheritances? Of course, Shang Chun's face was also odd. "You don't even know about the great 8 inheritances?" Shi Yin felt so ashamed. He beamed a forced smile. "Until now, I've known only 5 powers Upanishads including death, erosion, darkness, chaos, and destruction. Now I know about the corpse power. I don't know the other 2. The despair power Upanishad that your great-grandfather is cultivating is also one of them. This kind of power Upanishad requires a lucky encounter and innate endowment to enter. There's no inheritance that could get them into this cultivation path. Your great-grandfather is so stubborn. But it's what helped him understand the truth of despair power Upanishad." "Oh, right. Agate Star area used to have a peerless expert who inherited the despair power Upanishad from your bloodthirsty bloodline. Your great-grandfather could sense the energy of despair power Upanishad. That's why he came to the North Zone to look for something. Now he has a profound knowledge of that man," explained Shang Chun. Shi Yin had divine light shining on his face. "Oh, it turns out that the despair power Upanishad is one of the great 8 inheritance. The last inheritance is called soul driving. It's an evil secret soul technique, which is much profound than that amateur Eno." Shang Chun was still frightened as he mentioned that man. "Your precursor who has mastered soul-driving power is the most mysterious man in this universe. Besides the bloodthirsty cortege of 8, no one knows his real identity. Rumors say that he doesn't have a body. He's just a wisp of a soul wandering around the big star area. He has driven many experts into the dark. The soul of those experts became part of him. He turned them into puppets that he could control." Taking a deep breath, Shang Chun looked aghast. The force he controls is so dominating. He's the big brother of the bloodthirsty cortege of 8. He's the most dangerous and mysterious expert. He's the archenemy that all 12 families of the God Clan want to kill. The 12 families of the God Clan have spent their strong armies with countless efforts and time, but they couldn't figure out his real identity or his whereabouts. Shang Chun seemed to be wary of that person who had mastered the soul-driving technique. When he talked about that expert, his face also changed. Haven't you mastered the fate power Upanishad? Even you don't know his real identity? Shi Yin was surprised. The fate power Upanishad isn't something like you imagine. Quite the contrary, the more you've comprehended it, the more complicated fate means to you. Shang-Chen sighed and mumbled, "The deeper I learn about it, the more helpless I've become when I couldn't do anything to turn things around. The spider web of fate is so complicated. I can only have glimpses of it. So, how many people of the bloodthirsties bloodline that you know are still alive?" Pondering for a while, Shi Yin asked. "There are at least 3 out of 8 members of the bloodthirsties entourage. Frederick cultivates corpse power. Xin he cultivates death power Upanishad. And the one who cultivates soul-driving power. No one knows his real name. Besides them, there are some more possibly living in different corners of this vast universe," said Shang-Chen. "So the bloodthirsties bloodline doesn't have only 8 people?" Shi Yin was astounded. "You're so ignorant that it's funny," Shang-Chen explained with an odd face. "The great 8 inheritances of bloodthirsty have their fruits everywhere. Of course, there aren't only 8 people. The bloodthirsties' cortege of 8 are the 8 leaders of the 8 great inheritances. Although there aren't many people who cultivate the 8 great powers, it's not only 8 of them in this universe. However, after that war with the God Clan, almost all members of the great 8 inheritances were killed. The 8 members of the entourage were also damaged badly. Some disappeared. How mysterious or special is the master of the bloodthirsty?" Shi Yin asked. "It seems like my inheritance comes from him." "Him? I'm not qualified to talk about him." Shang-Chen changed his face in fear. He immediately closed his mouth, his panic-stricken eyes glancing at the blood vein ring on Shi Yan's finger. Pondering for a while, he said, "Wait until the ring's spirit has restored its memory. Then, you can ask it. I don't dare to say anything related to him." After that, no matter what Shi Yin tried to ask him, Shang-Chen remained silent. He didn't say anything while wearing a bizarre countenance. After a long time drilling through the thick mist, Shi Yan's eyes brightened as he screamed, "There's a life star." A beautiful sky star was inside the thick mist. It radiated a fierce halo that looked like an electric arc that covered everywhere. It was a still planet as it was moving with energy that could destroy everything. Under the magnificent halo of the star, Shi Yin found many mineral stars and dead stars surrounding that blue sky star. However, while the star was moving, it often impacted and crushed the dead stars and mineral stars standing in its way as easily as breaking dried tree branches. Those mineral stars and dead stars turned into smaller meteors that fell extremely quickly. That blue sky star was very massive. It was much bigger than any star Shi Yin had seen. His soul consciousness couldn't cover the entire star, and those electric arc layers had sealed the whole planet. The blue sky star was maneuvering with an earth-shaking energy fluctuation. It was much faster than the speedy battleships. Shang-Chen screamed excitedly. "Finally found it." Shi Yin was scared. "The destination you said is this life star?" Shang-Chen nodded and said, "I've agreed with Frederick to bring you there. I went to Agate Star area to find you and arrange for you to access that life star." "Access that life star?" Shi Yin was surprised. "Why do I have to go here?" "The thing that could cure your great-grandfather is in this planet. Besides, it has more magical things. Frederick wanted you to go there for something better for you." Shang-Chen looked so bitter and regretful when he took out a blue sky fruit which looked similar to that life star. "I have to exert a lot of effort to have this guiding fruit. Oh, never mind. The favor I owed your bloodthirsties bloodline could be paid off with this, though." "Can you give more details?" Shi Yin was a little annoyed. "This life star is called Desolate. It's an ancient continent. In this vast universe, there are only 5 ancient continents. This Desolate is one of them, but it isn't similar to any other ancient continent. Desolate doesn't give birth to any creature. It only bears precious and rare original incipient grade herbs and other materials. It will open every 10,000 years for 10 years. Yeah, you know the ancient continents have the origin. The origin somehow has cognition. You can consider Desolate a life star with cognition. Only the guiding fruit growing in Desolate can let you in. Here, it's for you." Shang-Chen explained, and then handed Shi Yin that strange fruit. Chapter 1090. Outstanding Talents. Chapter 1090. Outstanding Talents. The guiding fruit was as big as a walnut. It had a strange blue hue with many strange patterns on it. Strange energy was surging inside that fruit, which was someone resonating with the ancient continent called Desolate. With a close look, Shi Yin could see that the patterns on the guiding fruit were releasing the clear blue light. Shang Chun threw the guiding fruit to Shi Yin, his face bitter and regretful. The guiding fruits are scarce. People got it from the previous time that the ancient continent opened. It's called the Key of Desolate. You can use it to enter Desolate. I have fulfilled my promise to Frederick. The guiding fruit felt a little cold in Shi Yan's hand. Still furrowing his brows, Shi Yin didn't understand Shang Chen's intention. I don't get it. Okay, it's like this. Shang Chen looked at the ancient continent called Desolate in front of them. His eyes sparkled with divine light. Desolate has many secrets. It also has the most magical, wonderful herbs and stones. Most of them are at original incipient grade, which is most suitable for refining weapons and pellets. In this vast sea of stars, you can consider Desolate an undiscovered treasure house. What does it matter to the soul-rotting aphids inside my great-grandfather? Shi Yin tightened his fingers around the rigid fruits and asked, why does Frederick want me to get in there? There's something that could wash the soul-rotting aphids in your great-grandfather's brain. That thing is rare and hard to find. It's in the ancient continent. Shang Chun pointed at Desolate and said, that thing is called seven-colored demonic flower. It looks like a beautiful girl's face. It can cry or smile, and yes, it has cognition. It can poison a person's mind. That flower is an original incipient grade herb. It's the most precious tonic to refine many soul spells and charms. Pausing for a while, Shang Chun continued, and I don't know why Frederick wants you to get in there, but I think that people who get the guiding fruit would risk their lives to get into that continent. Because of those rare treasures of earth and heaven? Asked Shi Yin. Nah, it's only one reason. Shang Chun smiled and said, Desolate is an ancient continent. It has cognition. Right from the beginning, it has sealed itself and kept wandering around the significant star areas. It opens every 10,000 years. Besides giving birth to the earth and heaven precious treasures, there are more mysterious areas in the center of Desolate because it has maintained the primal status since the beginning. The other ancient continents have exhausted their energy to produce creatures. Gradually, they became just like other typical life stars. But Desolate is different. It has never given birth to creatures. Earth and heaven energy in that continent is still at its thickest level. There's something marvelous of the primal time. However, only those who can get in there could understand. As far as I know, experts of the great star areas who returned alive from Desolate always had a harvest. Their realm-breaking speeds would increase unimaginably. Shi Yin was bewildered. He asked, experts from other star areas could get in that continent too? What's the realm-breaking you've mentioned? Of course the experts of the other star areas would come here. Shang Chen's face was calm. As far as I know, this time, there should be dozens of warriors entering the ancient planet. They're all outstanding talents of the big star area. Their powers are astounding. Just like you, they even have the ability to challenge warriors at a higher realm. Pausing for a while, Shang Chun said earnestly, the breaking I've mentioned is about your powers Upanishads. I heard that warriors could fuse different powers Upanishads in Desolate. I think Frederick wants you to come here because of this feature. Your powers Upanishads are many, which holds you down. Desolate is extremely suitable for you. Shi Yin pondered for a while and then said, is it true that anybody with the guiding fruit could enter Desolate? No. Shang Chun shook his head. Desolate will resist and expel incipient God Realm experts. Since the incipient God Realm experts' energy is too abundant, it would damage Desolate structure. Thus, incipient God Realm experts wouldn't be able to get in there. Only warriors like you, the outstanding warriors at Ethereal God Realm, can access that continent. You will meet plenty of Ethereal God Realm experts from different star areas, not only Fantasy Mist Star area. There will be experts from many star areas, including the God Clan experts. Will there be fighting? Asked Yin seriously. It's not will. Battle happens every minute in the most furious and bloody way. The original incipient grade materials and marvelous regions that cultivate different power Upanishads can make people crazy. Right at the moment you get in there, you will have to face the strongest ethereal god realm experts in this universe. Since you are at first sky of ethereal god realm, haha, you must be more careful, boy. While talking, a book flew out of Shang-Chin's sleeves. As it was flipping in the wind, Yin could see figures and drawings on each page, including grass, flower, stones, wood materials, and more. All looked lively as if they were real samples. Yin could see the tiny descriptions too. Here, take this book. It contains the drawings of the original incipient grade materials that I've studied. You will need it in Desolate. Yin didn't pretend to be too polite. He reached for the book and bowed to thank the old man. I told you what I had to tell you. Shang-Chun rubbed his chin, which didn't have a beard. He swung his hand generously. You should go. Just hold the guiding fruit in your hand. When you go near Desolate, something will happen. I don't need to tell you more. I've remembered your soul energy fluctuation. 10 years later, I will come and find you to help you complete your tasks. After Shang-Chun said that, he turned around and left quickly as if he was afraid to meet someone here. In just a blink of an eye, he disappeared from Yan's line of sight. His aura was also concealed. No matter how hard Yin tried, he couldn't track him down. The ancient continent named Desolate was still barging into other stars and crushing the stars standing in its way. Sparks of broken stars exploded like the most dazzling fireworks. It was still moving around in the area of thick mist. Yin observed closer. He found that Desolate was slowing down as if it knew what it was doing. Although Desolate was moving fast, Yin wasn't afraid that he would get ditched behind as he had cultivated space power Upanishad. It wouldn't be a big problem to chase after Desolate. Thus, Yin wasn't hurried. Suddenly, his soul had a vibe as he felt 3 auras approaching him. The vitality waves of those 3 auras were abundant with a lot of blood chi. Yin could feel one of them was at second sky of incipient god realm. He couldn't know Shang-Chin's realm because of his magical power Upanishad. However, he vaguely guessed that Shang-Chin was at third sky of incipient god realm. He was likely one of the true peerless experts of this universe. 3 blasts sweeping over like rainbows or 3 lightning strikes. Shortly after, 3 people appeared right at the location where Shang-Chun had just disappeared. A married woman in her 40s with an appearance of someone who had experienced hardships in her life emerged. She wore a dark blue brocade garment with a jade-ornamented belt that marked her beautiful contours. Although her gait was graceful, her face was full of rage. As soon as she arrived, she thundered, "Old bastard, bring your ass here." Standing by the woman were one young lady and one young man who looked pretty similar to Shang-Chen. The young man looked really dashing. He was wearing a silver robe. He was fast and had great manners, but his face was so cold. The young woman was slender and was wearing a light blue dress. She had a water blue vest over her dress that showcased her 2 white, jade-like arms. Her moonlight arms were decorated with many colorful jade rings. She also wore a crescent moon emerald necklace that dangled above her ample bosom, which supported her charming figure. The young woman had a lagoon belt on her waist, which was as small as a hand and as delicate as a snake. The middle-aged women brought a young man and a girl to this area, right when Shang-Chun had just left. She ground her teeth. That damn old bastard. I'd risked my life to take the guiding fruit for our children, and you stole one. Tell me, is that how you do your parenting role? The matured woman looked here and there. She spoke through her gritted teeth. Get your ass down here for me. The young man and lady were also cold. They harshly looked around. It was too bad that Shang-Chun had left earlier. The 3 of them released their soul consciousness to search for him for a while. The married woman had shouted for a while, but they didn't see any commotion of Shang-Chun. After a long time, they gave up. The woman glanced, and her line of sight fell on Yin. She struggled in her mind for a while, and then said to him all of a sudden, "That old bastard handed something to you. I know it. I know the aura of the guiding fruit because I found them, 2 of them. She turned her head, looking lovingly at the man and the girl behind her. Taking a deep breath, she said, "Please return it to us. I've prepared the fruits for my son and daughter. Shangchun, that bastard, has stolen one from me." Pausing for a while, she said resentfully, "I don't care what he has promised other people. I don't mind what earth-shaking favor he owes them. Nevertheless, this guiding fruit belongs to me. He has stolen it from me. Please return it to me." The young man and the lady focused on Shi Yan. "Friend, you've reached first sky of ethereal god realm. Even if you can get into Desolate with guiding fruit, you can't survive for 10 years there. You should know reality and return the fruit to us. I'm sure we won't mistreat you. We will find another chance to repay the favor that my father owes you guys. What do you think?" The young man was calm. He spoke with great manners. The way he treated people looked pretty similar to Shang Chen's. At the same time, the slender girl in blue took after her mother. Her swan egg-shaped face was mesmerizingly beautiful. However, she had a cold and clear voice. "Please return our thing to its owner. Otherwise, we will not be afraid to take it back with force." "Don't be wanton," the young man shouted at her. "He has some relationship with father. Our father has taken risks to cause a grudge with us to give him the fruit. He has his reasoning that we don't know. We don't want to trouble him too much, though. Don't mind that heartless bastard. He deserves his 10,000 death sentence, as he doesn't care about his children's futures." The woman was so enraged. It looked like she didn't want to waste her saliva talking about her husband. "Boy, please give it back to us. We really don't want to trouble you." "I'm sorry. This guiding fruit is very important to me. It's related to my beloved one's death or life. I can't give it back to you." Shi Yan bent his body slightly and sighed. A dazzling space slit cracked behind his back. He clasped his hands towards the 3 and stepped backward, disappeared into the space slit. When he reappeared, he was at the outer layer of Desolate already. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.